Yeah, I can't show on the screens. That's okay. Sorry. You want us to? Go back. I heard that was one of the men. Yeah, you were. I feel like your life might be out behind there, that whole line down. Maybe. That's where we're not. Really? I'm sorry. What was that? They do all have copies of the packet that you submitted. Give me just a second. I dropped this. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. This is a workshop of the City of Flagler Beach City Commission, and today is Tuesday, August 11th. The time is 5:31 p.m. And Commissioner Cunningham, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll follow that by a moment of silence to honor our veterans, members of the armed forces, and first responders.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Thank you. All right, City Manager, I'll let you handle the intro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 presenters this evening, and we're led first off by One Parking. And I think they are doing, as some of you are aware, they're currently involved with Fernandina Beach, and they are also involved with Volusia County as well. So with that, please take it away.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us today. My name is Mark Pratt. I'm the president of One Parking. With me is Fernandina Beach City Manager Tanner Pratt. Tanner and I spent...
Can I just interrupt you just for one quick second? I want to do a little bit of housekeeping real fast. Just for everybody watching or paying attention and all the members of the public that we have out there, we're not going to be taking any action tonight. This is to ask questions and listen to presentations, and there won't be action for a ways yet out. But I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that, and by all means, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Again, I'm Mark Pratt. This is Tanner Pratt. Tanner and I spent 16 years running a similar-sized company called Dennison Parking in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I was the CEO. Tanner did on-street enforcement for the company for 12 years. Tanner moved here from Indianapolis to start the Fernandina Beach operation, which officially started on March the 1st. A little bit about One Parking. Some of these slides have a lot on them. I'm limited to 30 minutes, so I may fly through some. You have, is that right, Colleen? And you took a copy of this, so now everybody's going to have it, right? The PowerPoint.
We all have a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Provide a copy of the presentation to them after the fact.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Again, we were founded in 2004 by Kirsten Dolan and her late husband, Greg Sussick. We've grown to 260 plus locations nationwide, about $180 million in annual revenue with 700 plus employees. And as mentioned, we're owned by Kirsten Dolan, so we're a 100% women-owned enterprise. Our project team, this is our corporate team, showing a lot of people, including Kirsten, the owner, in the middle. But on this particular project, you'd be seeing myself, Zach Lieberman, who's in charge of technology and innovation, Shastri Rupnarayan, our VP of admin, Tommy Lefkowitz, in charge of culture and training, Teresa Lilly, in charge of marketing. Our company provides many, many services: parking management for both self-park and valet, enforcement, remote monitoring, technology solutions, shuttles, traffic control consulting, and asset management to municipal and government, mixed use and retail, residential, commercial, sporting events, hotel, hospitality, and healthcare. Our partners and affiliates, I won't read through all this since you have the presentation, but I'll mention Related Ross is probably one of the biggest locals that we do business with, and in fact run the West Palm Beach campus as pertains to parking. Municipal experience, many of these are current contracts. Some of these are municipal contracts that I've started in my 42 years of doing parking. Started in 1984 in Lexington, Kentucky. You'll see that one up there. You also see others like City of Des Moines that I opened for another company. Why One Parking at Flagler Beach? We're local. We're almost local. We're your neighbors. Our Daytona Beach Shores office is just 45 minutes from here. Fernandina Beach is just under 2 hours north, and our corporate office is 3 hours south in West Palm Beach. Neither Tanner nor I flew here today to take this meeting. I got a half day in the office this morning and then drove up, and we're here. We're just that close. One Parking executives have 70 plus years of municipal experience. We leverage the best technology available in the industry instead of creating proprietary tech on our own, which gives our clients the best available technology and allows for flexibility. We have a seasoned manager ready to go. She has worked as a supervisor in another large municipal setting using all the technology we're going to describe herein, and she is a Floridian. Our vision and approach, this is a bit wordy, so I can succinctly say that you have 6.7 miles of enforcement loop. That's a bit too far to walk as compared to Fernandina Beach, where we have 14 city blocks. You have 0.88 miles per major street running north to south, and then you have another 16 streets that add another 3.2 miles for the 6.7. So when we took Fernandina Beach, and those of you that are familiar with it, it's very close, it's very tight. We felt that an enforcement vehicle roaming those streets with the LPR that I'll describe would just cause too much traffic congestion. So we opted for a walk before you run kind of approach, which, as we'll get into, has something to do with money as well. Walking the streets, allowing cars to go around our enforcement officers with a handheld on which we take plates and create citations worked naturally well in Fernandina Beach. Here, it's just too far to walk. We wouldn't get enough loops in if we were choosing to walk. We're talking about a mobile LPR enforcement situation. These are our trucks in Pompano Beach. You can see the LPR cameras mounted on top of them. There are two cameras pointed in opposite directions, so we could drive a street with parking on both sides and get the plates of cars on either side of the street. The LPR tech instantly checks each plate against payment records in the cloud. Plates without valid or active payments are flagged for potential violations. You are either someone who has paid or you are someone who has a digital permit, which is your license plate. You're one of those two. If you haven't registered a payment in the cloud and we see it with the LPR cameras, we can cite the individual. Enforcement officer reviews flagged vehicles and issues citations as needed. In these vehicles, there is a ruggedized laptop and a printer with a cellular connection to our cloud. And when a citation needs to be printed, we do it right there, hop out of the truck, put it on the windshield. We're talking about doing the same thing here. To the right, you see one of our officers holding the handheld. The handheld is not much bigger than your phone. The handheld can have a printer on it or a Bluetooth to a printer on your hip. And you generate the citation and check for permits and check that the car has paid, all with that handheld citation. When you walk up to the car, you hover over the plate and the device auto-fills the plate number. We don't have to punch in plates anymore. Scan it, it fills it. I've walked Fernandina Beach with Tanner and seen him walk and hardly break his gait. That's how fast it is. See the plate, the device will tell you that's a digital permit, move on. See the plate, this plate has not been here over 20 minutes, you need to get them on your next loop, because there's a 20-minute grace period in Fernandina Beach. Or see the plate, this car's been here an hour and 29 minutes, you need to issue a citation. I'll talk very briefly about immobilization because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself with this. But at some point in time, you decide what you want to do. If you have a scofflaw that has a number of plates, and again, I like to say that we work for you. We take our marching orders from you. If you decided you want people to have 3 citations and then you apply to Barnacle, we do what you tell us to do. If you said you wanted to have 13, we do that as well. So in this process, whoever you choose to do this with you, there are 100 questions that need to be asked and answered. And I like to say that the program is field programmable. We do what you tell us to do. We'll certainly share what's worked well in other cities. But as far as the immobilization of a car, you may not want to do that. Well, we can do it either way. This Barnacle device is like a giant book that you unfold, put on the windshield. It has 2 giant suction cups. When you press a code, creates a vacuum, sticks to the car. You can't see through the windshield. If you move the car, the Barnacle senses this, sounds an alarm, and if you try to drive away, you're doing with your head hanging out the window while an alarm's going off in your car. The investment needed to begin the program. I want to talk very briefly about this. The cost of a vehicle to mount the LPR infrastructure. We purchased 5 Nissan Kicks for Fernandina Beach, and frankly, they're not holding up that well. We've been running them for a couple of years now. We've already replaced the engine on one of them, and I would opt for something larger like a Chevy Equinox at about $32,000. The cost of the LPR enforcement technology contained on and in the vehicle includes 2 roof-mounted LPR cameras, the in-vehicle computer, the printer, plus cellular delivery technology. That's $47,000 in year 1, which is mainly a CapEx amount for the purchase of that equipment. And then years 2 and 3 are simply SaaS fees, software as a service fees, for that particular brand of equipment. The signage is a pretty heavy lift. Imagine putting a sign every 3 to 4 spaces. So that creates, I got a count when I Google Earthed your city and counted every space. I got 542 spaces. We usually have a sign every 3 spaces for 180 total signs at around $57 a piece. That's $10,260. The post to put them on, another $6,800, and then installation, say somewhere around $9,000. So the total hard cost to begin the program about $105,000 in year 1. It's fairly common for one parking to finance this if you please. So if you wanted to do this and decided you did not want to come out of pocket for it, it's fairly common for us to do the financing for you, right? Either some of it or all of it. Again, the suggested technology, just a little illustration with a vehicle with the 2 cameras on top for both the on-street parallel spaces and for the surface lots. We'll utilize the vehicle-mounted LPR cameras. You can see that you could be driving down either side of this street, and if the cars were running in the same direction, then you could capture plates on both sides. On your surface lots, it's possible to install a solar-powered static license plate recognition camera. We usually do that in lots that are a bit larger than this because the CapEx cost associated with that is $15,000 to $20,000 per lot. But it's solar powered nowadays, and that's a fairly recent development. So we don't have to trench for power. It's a concrete 2-foot by 2-foot cube of concrete holding a post with a battery, with a camera, with a cellular delivery, and a solar cell. So it's fairly easy to install. But the truck could travel this lot we've picked, is that the Osprey lot, and get both sides of that just by pulling in and running back towards the hedge. On the Flagler Beach A1A parking, it scares me a bit to think of a vehicle traveling, somewhat on the road and traffic coming down A1A like I've seen it. This is my 3rd time here. I've just come to watch and try to get a sense of what's going on. See a lot of traffic. I do see the construction, but I imagine once that's over, then traffic is fairly heavy on A1A. I would think about getting a handheld device and walking that area to keep a car off that road and both the public and our officers safer instead of a car sticking out in the road. I yield to your judgment on that. We could do that either way, but that's something that we want to consider. The handheld that he's holding, when you think about your CapEx cost, that handheld's $2,900. Think of the difference, and again, walk before you run in Fernandina Beach. Our CapEx did not include the $47,000 to go in the $32,000 car. So right away we saved $76,000 in CapEx costs. Those devices are fairly cheap. So we could buy one of those or not. We could drive it or not. That's one of the 100 questions that we need to ask as we got into the program. These are the the signs that we have in Fernandina Beach. Tanner, you want to hold up a couple and just walk up and show them? You notice on the sign, we have a QR code that you simply open your phone, hover over the QR code, and it takes you to a payment portal. Or you could text, or you could call. I suggest that you don't do the calls if you can get away with it. The calls are that require more staff to take the calls. Calling out a credit card number over a phone is not really PCI compliant. There's a number of issues with calling. We get what, Tanner, 10 to 12 calls a day in Fernandina Beach? Right. Yeah. So I would suggest if you can get away from that, get away from that. You will also see that we have no walk-up ATM-like payment kiosk. I have to say in southern Florida, and I have tracked this on all locations where we have those kiosks, it is surprising that in some of our locations, up to 50% of the people want to approach and pay by that tactile method of paying for their parking. However, we have 27 of those kiosks on Pompano Beach, and because of the weather and because of the soft air, they rot out in a very short amount of time. If you can get away with not putting those kiosks in at about $8,000 to $12,000 per kiosk, and have folks simply take their phone and hover over that QR code or text for payment, then it's money saved and less replacement of infrastructure as time goes on. This is a video of, oh, great. So that's a little instructional video we came up with at Fernandina Beach that's embedded in our website. Community engagement. I'm at about 13 minutes left, so I don't know that I have time to walk through all this. I will reiterate, and I think I did in my cover letter, this is absolutely critical. These programs to go from free parking to pay parking are just fraught with drama, and you will have the citizens in talking about it being the ruination of the town, et cetera, et cetera. So explaining to the citizens how the program is going to work, having the website and this Park Flagler Beach, social media campaigns, program video content, 24/7 customer helpline, a local office, town hall meetings before it starts, parking days, and parking flyers. I will quickly mention that when you allow residents to have free digital permits, it tamps down a huge amount of your drama. I think what you're trying to do is what we're seeing in Pompano and Riviera and Delray and other cities. Having a conversation about Riviera Beach this morning as I drove up here, since we turned the program back on August 3rd, we issued 500 citations. Of the citations issued, only 7% of the zip codes were Riviera Beach zip codes. I mean, we're seeking the tourists, we're seeking the visitors, and more so than the residents in many of these towns. So when you start the program, if you talk about in Fernandina, we give 2 digital permits. That's 2 cars for every resident household. If you pay taxes and you live within the confines of Fernandina Beach downtown, then you get 2 free digital permits. So just a hint at what you could do to tamp down some of the drama that could come along with this. Very short video. This is just another example of what we've done. They're fond of turtles. I notice you're fond of turtles and crabs on your handouts. So we adopted the turtle for this.
Like your license plate number and proof of residency. Prefer in-person assistance? No problem. You can visit any of our Park Volusia offices. Locations are conveniently listed on our website. Once your application is approved, you'll receive a virtual permit. That's right. No stickers needed. Your license plate is your pass. Need help along the way? Give us a call at 386-206-8779 or visit one of our helpful customer support locations. With your permit, you're all set to enjoy unlimited beach access all year round. Be cool like Timmy the Turtle and get your permit today. Thank you for keeping our beaches beautiful. See you on the sand.
That one was pretty well received. Timmy the Turtle's a big thing in Volusia County. The permit and citation management is another technology portal that needs to be married to the LPR portal, that needs to be married to the QR code payment portal. The portal we use is particularly easy and customer friendly, and we would imagine if we were chosen to use the same permit portal here. And all your citizens have to do is go to this portal, upload a proof of residency, and the title to the car, registration to the car, and then they're automatically granted, after review by someone like Tanner, they're automatically granted a digital permit if they meet all the criteria. It's fairly easy. I will also mention that just down the street in Volusia, we do the entire county, so that's 100-ish type on-beach and off-beach lots and on-beach approaches. We now have roughly 250,000 digital permits within our system for Volusia County. Yet we still get 100 walk-ins a day into our offices, one in New Smyrna Beach and one in Daytona Beach Shores. So you have to be ready for the folks that walk in and want to sit down with you at a computer to register for a permit. We haven't found a way, even though we've tried to go to appointment only, we still get 100 people a day walking into our offices seeking help. And that's a part of where we live, in an aged population, and people get intimidated by their computers, and they just want some help. So I thought that might die down a little bit, and it has. We were getting 200 to 250 a day, and now we get 100. Someone within an office ready to do that, ready to answer the phones, in addition to the enforcement officer that would be roaming the streets, are what is called for. So there will need to be a convenient 10 by 10 office somewhere for your enforcement staff to set to handle those people who walked in. Parking sensor technology, if you wanted, we've done this in Delray Beach. We can embed sensors in the ground, and it can tell people where they can park before they even get into town. This is a pretty big step. Those sensors are installed individually. In the case of Delray Beach, you drill down 3.5 inches, put the sensor in the ground, and then fully encase it in epoxy, and it's in there like a rock. The battery life is supposedly 5 years, but we haven't had the sensors in the ground long enough for me to sit here and tell you that. I know that for sure. So that's something that we can bring to the table. Using recently opened Fernandina Beach as our guide. Now let me go back. Now let me ask if I'm allowed to show you anything pertaining to the revenue numbers. Is that breaking any rules, or can I show that? Okay. Okay. So using Fernandina Beach as our guide, what revenue could we expect at Flagler Beach? Since operations began in mid-February, we have recorded over 160,000 payments through the apps that, like I showed in the video, and on these signs, totaling more than $807,000 in revenue. Additionally, we've onboarded 10,100 digital permits, generating another 214,000. If you're a Fernandina Beach residence within certain confines, you do get the 2 free that I talked about. But if you're outside those confines and you pay $124 a year, and that's about it, isn't it, Tanner? Okay. We've issued 954 paid. We've received 954 paid citation. That's 1 per 168 customers, with a value of another $54,000. This equals $1,075,000 in revenue over those 750 spaces, equals $1,433 for space per day over 166 days we've been open, equals $8.63 a space a day. Flagler Beach has 542 spaces times 863, and if we went 360 days, that's getting close to $1.7 million. So that is an easy piece of math extrapolation. Then the judgment of the commission would be such as, well, do we have as many generators? Do we have as many attractions as Fernandina Beach? Fernandina Beach is very consolidated and all packed into 14 city blocks. So you'd have to ask yourself, well, do we have as many? Would we do this kind of volume? I think we might do 80%, 90%, 70%. But that is an easy piece of math. So much of this depends on what you choose as your rates. We were told we would start at the $3 an hour range, but after many of those meetings with folks and the commission, we took it down to $2. And the 87 cents you see is a convenience fee for basically all of this, running the technology in the background and for sales tax. We push the cost of the technology and sales tax onto the rates that you see. The permits, the city residents I mentioned, et cetera, and then outside of city limits, $124. So many, many changes from the time the RFP was let, then we won, and the program was rolled out. Rates changed, free parking changed, free permits changed, many things changed. We have netted about $100,000 a month in the city of Fernandina Beach. So I think we'll turn $1.2 million a year to them as their net profit. The transition plan is massive. The contract that I'm not going to read through all this, but I'd like to talk about what I've highlighted in yellow. OPI will ask 100 questions. I mean, once you make the choice of your operator, then the operator needs to meet with you and ask 100 questions about how you want the program to run, not just the rates, but the rules, etc. It's a fairly exhaustive process. Operational plan would be developed, the schedule the progress meetings, etc. I mean, again, you have this. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I only have 2 minutes left. But this transition plan is critical, and meeting with stakeholders to discuss how you want to run your program, how lenient, how harsh, what rates, etc. that you want. That's what's involved in the transition plan. Transparency and reporting. Again, I'm down to 1.5 minutes, so full visibility on our reports. We do not commingle funds with Flagler Beach and Fernandina Beach. You have your own account, so You get an income statement that tracks to a summary of posting, that tracks to bank statements. It's your city money and only your city money. So we don't pool revenue from many sources to pay invoices and so forth. We show you your money and only your money. Heavy lift on the front end. Again, I can't emphasize just how heavy the front end lift is on a new municipal enforcement program. It takes a huge amount of time and resources on the part of the operator. And if you can, whatever company you choose, give that company 3 to 4 months to prepare for the go-live date. Do not underestimate the importance of communication program and community engagement, because there will be those that disagree. Vet the tech carefully, and I've said this, I'm chairman of the tech committee of the National Parking Association, and I've stood up in our convention and said if tech slips are moving, they're lying, because that's what's happening in our space a great deal, so you need to vet the tech very carefully. And if your interest is obtaining parking payments from many tourists who visit Flagler Beach, you can tamp down the inevitable drama by allowing free permits to city residents. This I like to put into the presentation, emphasizing that, you know, there could be citizens and the horde at the city gates if it's not handled properly. And with that, I'll leave that up and take any questions.
All right. Questions for this vendor? Commissioner Santori.
I need a couple minutes to gather my thoughts. You go ahead.
I've got some questions.
Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. Just a couple questions. I know you touched upon the part about the residents. That's, I think, for me, and I can't speak for everybody else up here, but that's probably first and foremost our top priority is making sure that, you know, the residents here that are in town, they're not paying for parking. And also on a side note, I was just up in Fernandina, used your parking product. Very simple, very easy. You know, oh, you want to add more time? Okay, they sent me a text notification. Very easy, very simplistic. Wasn't overwhelming at all. So, and also I've used it in Volusia County. You know, drove down on the beach, paid my $20. I think I actually had told you. I said I gladly paid the $20. Got to enjoy my day. Got to go about my business and didn't have to, you know, worry about a thing. So, you know, I'm familiar with your product, but I just had a few questions for you. One of the things too is, you know, even in our vision statement, we want to support our local businesses. I know maybe in your guys' presentation, you guys had mentioned working something out with some of the local businesses as well. Is that right, for like their employees? I couldn't.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, again, I appreciate what you just said. Yeah. I'm always about earning the revenue, but again, I spoke to one city we worked to just 2 days ago or yesterday, saying, look, it's going to cost you X to give free digital permits to the citizens, and it's not that much compared to the previous slide, the storming the city council meetings, and just the berating of the city council just week after week, when we could go to free digital permits like we have in most other municipalities and tamp down that drama. So you take care of your citizens, and again, the intention of the program, in my opinion, in all the cities where we do this, is you've got 90% of your parkers out here. And listen, I'm way open to being wrong here. I'm just telling you what I see, and I've qualified it and quantified it in our other operations. We're seeing 90 to 92% of the folks that are coming to pay are paying using zip codes outside that city. That's how we can quantify this. I want to get even better data, but some of you may have heard of DPPA, the Driver Protection Act, and PII, Personal Information Act, where we can't just reach in and grab certain information, even us. We have to get a third party to pull the plate to send the citation. And when we do that, we have to be very careful about doing that. So we have found ways to mine for the data that I'm talking about, aside from what I just said, and we're seeing 90 to 92% of the people that are paying are the tourists that are coming to town. And that's, I think, what you want. That's what all the cities I talk to seem to be desiring.
Yes.
Okay. We can do that pretty easily.
And just one other question, Mr. Chairman, I'll pass it off to the rest. But you mentioned $100,000 for that initial startup. We'll call it even number, about $110,000 you had mentioned. So is that an introductory fee? I know you said, I think your cost sharing, we would get, let's just say hypothetically 1.6 million. We take home about 1.2. You guys would take 400 for yourselves, I would assume.
No, we don't. I wish. I'll take that. No.
Okay, what all that, I'm just trying to figure out the numbers because, again, I think we're looking for revenue streams. We're looking for different ways to, maybe fund some different things around town. So just trying to get a rough number from you guys, just to get a better idea.
I can send you a pro forma if you would like. I can prepare a revenue and expense pro forma. I got a little undecided about whether I could roll that out here.
Sure.
So I can have that to you in a couple of days. I will tell you at Fernandina Beach, they pay us a flat amount a month of about $26,000 to cover everything. All labor, all tech, all fees, all liability insurance, our management fee, in addition, the whole ball of wax. And that number includes amortization. Now, in the case of Fernandina Beach, that was only about $60,000 for the signs, and in the case of Fernandina Beach, they chose a decorative post to go on the streetscape. It's very pretty, but it's pretty costly. The signs, the posts, the install of all that was about $60,000. We funded that. So my amount that they pay flat each month includes that amortization. So we would strike a budget. We would divide it by 12. I would say this is going to be your monthly cost, which includes my fee. And if I exceed it, shame on me. If I beat it, then I can put some more profit in my pocket, right? But it's a budget that I talk to all of you about very upfront, and I show you all the numbers. So there's nothing slid in there after the fact. That's how we do it. We could do a revenue share if you wanted, but most clients, especially municipalities, want to know what that hard, finite number is. They don't want cyclical this and that. They want to know each and every month. So it wouldn't be hard at all for me to go back home and put together. Your budget would look a whole lot like Fernandina Beach. We would have an enforcement officer. We would have a clerical for the walk-ins and the calls and the help that the citizens need to get those digital permits. And we wouldn't have a whole lot else. We could have, 2 to 4 employees in the whole thing. The secret is the technology. The vehicle with 2 LPR cameras cruising along. You can take good LPR reads at 55 miles an hour in these vehicles anymore. So the use of that technology covering that 6-point-something mile loop is the real money saver. And then that goes to lesser expenses and more profit for the city.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, other questions? Mr. Cunningham.
What would you do if you had a family of 4 and they had 4 vehicles for living in town?
That's a great question. We at Fernandina, and again, if you looked at me, Mr. Cunningham, and said, look, 4 digital permits per household, that's what we're going to do. In Fernandina, every household gets 2, and if you want another one, it's $24 a year. And that's because a digital permit costs the city money. I mean, to recognize it through the technology, there's a cost to that. If you give it for free, then you're going to pay somewhere between $1 and $2 a month per permit just to keep it in the system, in the cloud, and keep the tech running. So if you came to me and said, I want it to be 4, and the commission agreed, then that's exactly what we're going to do. You just have to know that that tech comes with some sort of cost that we would have to talk about, and one of those 100 questions that I was talking about up there. But we could do it.
On average, what % delinquency do you got for enforcement when you're sending fines out?
You mean what's the pay rate? How many people are paying when they get a citation?
How many people aren't paying?
About 35 to 40%.
Okay.
Yeah. If we get the backing, a citation that goes out with the one parking banner on it gets some attention. A citation that goes out with the City of Flagler Beach seal on it and the threat of perhaps withholding registration the following year gets much more attention and a greater pay rate. So if we were your operator and you decided to let us use the seal and the authority of the city, and there was some teeth to the citation, then you'll get a higher pay rate. If we could leverage the city in that transaction, we'll get a higher pay rate.
But if they get the fine and decide they don't pay it, they're not gonna pay it because they're from out of state somewhere and they probably won't be back for 5 years or whatever.
We
Anything beyond that as far as enforcement, or is that it?
no, we
Just lose it?
we do an out-of-state plate lookup through another firm. We send them 3 collection notices, and then we send them to citation or collections, and we split the proceeds between the city and the citation company. So no, we don't just let it drop if they're from out of state.
Citation company, is that a state or federal or what? I mean, is it private?
The citation company,
Yeah.
and there are several of them, are private, but they have agreements to allow them to look up the plates that I don't have and I can't get. The process to be able to look up a plate is tedious and laborious and litigious. It's funny. In this process, you have 4 silos of technology. That payment portal there is one silo. The permit, digital permit, is another. The citation administration is another, and the equipment is another. The folks that process the citations and provide the LPR images won't provide a payment portal. We're not doing that, they say. So we have to marry that payment portal silo with the citation silo, with the digital permit silo, and all of it talks to each other in the cloud, is the best way I've got to say it. It's a very tedious process.
So if they ultimately don't pay, they get sent to collections?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Gotcha. What about the software security that's flying around all around in the cloud, the hackers?
Well, that's why some of this is so difficult. DPPA, the Plate Protection, Privacy Protection Act, Driver Privacy Protection Act, is very onerous. So that's why you have a citation company, an LPR company, that won't develop that. They've decided to silo off and depend on others for some of the information. We've knock on wood, we have cyber insurance for ourselves and you, if we're your operator, to protect us against hacks. Again, knocking on wood, we haven't had a cyber hack or attack in the 7 years that I've been here. And with my other company, I was CEO of a like-sized company in Indianapolis. We never had one there as well. But you have to protect yourself and you have to protect your clients against it.
I would say, what would you say our median age is here? It's got to be in the 50s, maybe higher, maybe 60. I mean, there's a lot of those folks don't do apps on their phone.
Well,
And they don't know how to scan a code and enter in their information. I mean, I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but that's a fact. I know lots, including my wife.
It truly doesn't. I mean, we have one particular lot in downtown West Palm Beach, and we have the walk-up kiosk like an ATM, and we have these QR code payment signs around the whole lot. And 45% of the people who come to park on that lot choose to walk up and pay that kiosk.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, they are, and it continues to surprise me because the app continues to get better. Now, if you decided you wanted a tactile approach to this and put in a couple of those kiosks along A1A as you get to one of the crossovers of the dunes, then you can do it. And it's solar, and it doesn't. I wouldn't give back cash. I would avoid any kind of dispensing of cash or coin from that device because it just supercharges the complexity. But your 70-year-old person walks up, enters their plate number, enters a credit card number, or dips a credit card, and the transaction's over. It's tactile. And a lot of folks like that. So I don't dispel what you said at all. I live that every day. People still like the tactile approach of walking up to that thing. It's just, it can be expensive, but it's possible.
We're getting real short on time here. I want to make sure Commissioner Santori can ask a question here.
It's like you said, there's 100 questions.
Yeah, be happy to come back and talk about all of them.
Well, can we get extra time and provide it to the other vendors?
How much time are you talking?
Probably a few minutes, maybe 5 tops.
All right, let's go.
So is there any continuity with Volusia if we would go with your system, or would anyone from Volusia visiting have to re-sign up?
Good question. We just agreed to onboard 20,000 folks from New Smyrna Beach into our Volusia program. So I have to say that is a possibility. I forget exactly what we call that program, but we're doing it. So that answer is yes.
Your social media plan, does that include you guys being active on those different pages, or is it just for us?
No, we developed a social
You can
media
have,
plan just for
5
you.
minutes.
Just for you. Yours would be site specific to you.
Okay. Tell me, so, I mean, could we put the LPR reader on a golf cart instead of a vehicle?
You can put them on the 3-wheeled enforcement vehicles that you see a lot of. You could put it on the almost trike Paul Blart Mall Cop type vehicle that you've seen in some malls. We have those all over downtown West Palm Beach.
Okay.
You're just thinking about the weather and the safety. Well, I mean, we had a person, as you guys might know, we had a woman come across Intercoastal and hit our booth and kill a person just on June 6th. So I'm trying to be, well aware of the safety of the enforcement officer. We can do it, though.
In regards to the enforcement officer, is it always your company, or is it something we can do in-house?
No, what I'm pitching to you is our company. If you decided you wanted to do this in-house, then we could talk to you about that, if that's the route you wanted to go.
Okay.
Now, in this contract, very quickly, all employees are ours. The good things that come with the employees and the cons that come with the employees, right? You all know this if you have employees. So we handle all that. It's turnkey. You really don't do anything except establish the rules.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
You still got 3.5 more minutes. The only question I had is, are you finding more success with the municipalities using a timed system or a flat rate system where it's just 1 fee for the day?
I'm trying to think if we have a flat system.
Volusia's got the flat system. It's $20. $20 for the day.
Volusia, driving on the beach, right, is what you're talking about.
For parking. If you
Yeah.
park anywhere in Volusia, it's $20 for the day.
It's different. I mean, we can establish a flat rate if the city would like to go that way. All of our clients want incremental rates except for Volusia on beach. On the off-beach lots, where we control those lots with the static license plate cameras, solar driven, right? That's an incremental rate. When you drive onto the beach, I believe the rate is $31.95 to get onto the beach all day. We keep pushing for $32 because that nickel giving change slows down the queue of people wanting to get on the beach. But we can do that here as well. If you decided you wanted parking all day to be $5, we can do that. That's one of the 100 questions. So we can have incremental rates. I'm being long-winded. Most of our clients, aside from on beach, Volusia County, are choosing to go the incremental rates.
Mr. Cunningham, did you have any other questions? City Manager.
For the Fernandina Beach example, you say if you are a resident and you own a house and have a car registered there, you get the 2 free passes.
Correct.
Do you handle businesses any differently because they're tax-paying residents also? So, for example, you've got T. Ray's Restaurant, and does the owner of that property, even though they can't, their car most likely isn't registered, how do you handle, because we have dozens of small businesses around town, so do the owners of the business property, how is that handled?
Do we handle them any differently than they
They
handle?
have to show proof of property, like, some form of taxes paid,
Uh-huh.
such, and then that would, be just registered underneath that address and everything.
Does it qualify the business for 2 free digital permits?
Yes.
Okay. We'd better, right now, that answer is yes, we do. But
Because I
let me,
think that's gonna be a concern of our local business owners, that, hey, I'm a property,
It
and
will
the other thing is what about somebody that has a second home in Flagler Beach, but they're a snowbird, and their car is registered, I'm sure you can accept different forms of
right,
proof of ownership, proof of
Right.
residency, but
I believe that go ahead, Tanner.
They don't have on either their driver's license or their vehicle registration, the address of, as you said, their snowbird, the local address.
They still own property here,
That would
so that'd be easy to prove.
That is very effective.
They still own property.
So they don't steal
Mhm.
property from and addresses from other people. So we need some form of tax form.
Yeah, some tax
Pretty easy to get.
I
Utility
just want to
bill.
make sure start to reassure people that it's not just residential property owners that are given consideration, that it's the business owners that are still even higher taxpayers in our community, that they get passes as well, that's all.
Well, employees are a big deal. In Riviera Beach, we started off from day one that employees in the zone got a free digital permit. They have to prove that they're still employed after 30 or 60 days. So they have to re-register every 30 or 60 days, and the business owner has to swear that that's their employee as well.
All right.
Is Ferndale Beach golf cart friendly, like Flagler?
Not to the extent that Flagler is, no.
What about parking for all the golf carts? Same deal as a car?
They have to have a license plate, so yes, they have the same deal, like, locals can have them as one of their vehicles. But, yep, same deal of like 2 free, 1 extra, which usually the golf cart is, that's just $24 for a whole year pass.
Yeah, so they have to register too, is what you're saying.
To have a golf cart here, you gotta be a resident. I believe is our rules anyways, right? Yeah. So if you got a city sticker, you're a resident.
Charge at the same time we do, or every year? Is it every 2 years or 1 year? Every year. Every year.
Again, I say ad nauseum, so much of this is based on what the city desires. If you don't want anyone to get free, then they don't. If you allow 2 to 4, then we can amend the program to your liking. We work for you. It's that simple.
All right.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
for your
Thanks
time.
for listening to us. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
And we got Peninsula parking stuffed in a closet somewhere. Yeah, we'll do 20 minutes for Q&A.
Right?
I'm not gonna hold it against them, but that's definitely not.
The what?
I said I'm not gonna hold it against them, but that's definitely not Flagler Beach.
Oh, no.
How'd you get those nice ones? Is that for this one?
These? These are in our, we got a packet.
Sorry?
These parking guys can't run from
No, why don't you have the clicker, and I'll just turn to you. Why don't you
Yeah, this cheap screen here, but this is what will be going on, see how much time. Yeah.
All right, we got Peninsula Parking. Do you guys have a presentation? Yes. All right, welcome, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley. Mr. Sherman, Cunningham. And ma'am, what is your name, just so that I'm grounded? Colleen. Good evening. My name is Jerry South. I've got my partners Greg Freeman and Dan Cowens with us this evening. And first of all, we're grateful for the time that we have to present our company and talk about how we are prepared and willing and ready to partner with Flagler Beach to build the best beach town parking system in the country. And I'll start just going through the presentation and share with you that we have done a great deal of discovery and diligence, reading through the documents that were shared, the long-term, long-range mobility plan, and really have gotten to a place where we understand this is going to be a collaborative partnership with the residents, with the businesses, and with the city officials. We by no means are coming here tonight with some prescription and how this operation needs to be set up, needs to be technology sourced and resourced, and or operated. The theme of our approach tonight is we want you to get to know who we are, what our experience set is. From afar, it looks like this is a company that's about a year and a half old with 11 accounts, primarily in the Mid-Atlantic. And that indeed is how it may look. But we want to talk about our 35 years of extensive background. Some of the fine gentlemen that just walked out of those doors that I've competed with for nearly 30 years in markets around the country. And the way we'd like to go about being the parking partner for Flagler Beach. So we understand the residents are the primary driver, the primary concern, and that we will honor the residents' free parking, the free parking needs, as we navigate and explore and do our diligence and discovery and gather information on how to build and prescribe, if you will, the parking program. Residents first, right? And when you say residents of Flagler Beach, not necessarily residents of Flagler County, if you will. We know that the demand, the demand should generate the revenue, not the residents or on the backs of the local businesses. We need to build a program here at Flagler Beach that takes into consideration the city's objectives, the town's objectives, the business needs, the employees of those businesses needs as well. And we believe, in addition to the parking spaces that the city is putting into inventory and putting up into the paid parking system, that there are another 400 to 500 parking spaces throughout the market, throughout the CBD of Flagler Beach here, if you will, that could be, owners willing, brought into a comprehensive parking program. So it's not just about the 400 plus spaces that Flagler Beach is talking about. It's those 400 spaces and the nearly 400 other parking spaces in the immediate vicinity that could be used in aggregate to solve the town's parking problem. Right? The revenue should not come on the revenue should not come on the backs of the residents and the businesses. The revenue upside should come on those who are the demand drivers, those driving from 30, 40 minutes away on the other side of the bridge, as we've seen where some of those demand surges are coming from. While we are a small company, 11 accounts, 17 employees, my partner Dan Cowens, who I spent 25 years in the trenches with as we built Town Park from the late 1980s, early 1990s, until we sold that business to private equity in the mid-2015, 2014. Dan has relocated to the state of Florida, living about an hour and a half north of where we are today. And Dan is responsible for operations in Florida and growing the Florida market, which is why we, quite frankly, decided to pursue this opportunity. We're not one of the big one of the big competitors in the sandbox with hundreds and hundreds and thousands of accounts. But we hope that appeals to the commissioners and the decision makers here at Flagler Beach. You're not getting a district manager or a regional manager or an area manager. You're getting the founders of the business here to work with you side by side as we develop and prescribe this parking program. I mentioned, yes, we're a young company, but we do have decades and decades of experience. I founded Town Park, one of the largest parking operators in the country, before leaving that business in 2000 and selling it in 2014 and leaving the business in 2017. Dan spent 24 years alongside of me building Town Park, and we know what it takes, one account at a time, one reference at a time, to build a business, and that's what we set out to do. I didn't know that you guys snuck that picture of the Bellman outfit in there on me. Thanks for that. Our time at Town Park, again, collectively, 55 plus years of combined parking experience. We were north of 16,000 team members. Dan left the business, started a marina outsourcing business where we went to marinas and outsourced almost 70 marinas in the Mid-Atlantic, up and down the north, the Eastern Seaboard, before he ultimately sold that business to private equity as well. We are veteran-owned. Dan and I own 66% of the company. Both spent our time in the U.S. Army, and while in the U.S. Army, we had numerous assignments. The one I was most proud of was the time that I spent at the Honor Guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Washington, D.C. You'll notice organizationally there is a sense of military discipline, military acumen that runs throughout the organization, whether it's our discipline, our structure, our uniformity, our attention to detail, or just the resounding partnership that we've got to take on when it comes to working with our clients. Again, overcoming the size and the startup part of where we are in the evolution of Peninsula Parking Partners. Again, built an organization that was valet parking 1.6 million cars a month, almost 500,000 space managed, and over 30 years had almost a 95% client retention rate. Something we're very proud of. The City of Annapolis and work with the City of Baltimore are two of our most prominent municipal, if you will, institutional assignments. While we had 325 plus healthcare institutions in our portfolio, as large as Mass General in downtown Boston, where we valet parked over 1,000 cars a day at that organization, down to the Fontainebleau in Miami, which I can tell you is the most complex hospitality parking operation on the planet. I've lived it. I spent 7 years fixing that account, building the system that ultimately is there today, and it's one of the things we're very proud of. Most of us know Gaylord Hotels. Gaylord Hotels, we were the sole parking partner of Gaylord Hotels when they started with one hotel in Nashville, and we grew with Gaylord Hotels to their other 5 properties across the U.S. as their mobility, parking design, and parking process partner, and ultimately operator. Marriott ultimately built Gaylord Hotels, and we were proud to be the first third-party vendor allowed inside of a Marriott guest room with Marriott guests through our Gaylord relationship. So it really took a lot of hard work, a lot of training SOPs, and quite robust insurance program to earn our place to that opportunity with Marriott. We hear at Flagler Beach that it's about a public-private partnership. Ironically, P3, Peninsula Parking Partners, this is about a public-private partnership. This is about getting close to the businesses, understanding the residents' needs, and building a program and a parking system that suits this application. What are we trying to accomplish? What is the priority and the strategic objective? And building a program around that. We know the sensitivity to charging for residents parking. Is this about generating revenue for the city, or is this about managing demand and creating a parking option at every price point, right? We don't want to price people out of the market. We need our businesses need that. But if a visitor coming into the town, it has a $6 option, a $4 option, a $2 option, and a free option, and it's all very clear where those options are and what the price points are and the availability. That's the objective. I profess if we build the right system, 75% of the parking patrons who cross that bridge will know where they're going to park, if it's going to cost them to park, and if so, how much, and be able to reserve that space before they ever get to that parking lot, before they ever get out of their car. We went through the mobility plan, and we recognized 5 or 6 tenets of the mobility plan that we would feel we can really add value in building the system, right? It's staying very close to the central business district. It's enforcement, and we don't look at enforcement as how many violations did we write? How many violations are we collecting? Our philosophy on the enforcement side of things is first, we call it conversions. We want to convert the parking public to a paying member of the parking program. It's not about how many enforcements could we issue and how much enforcement revenue could we collect or how many of the service fees that some of the competitors that you may be talking to hang their hat on. For us, this is not about enforcement. This is about conversion. This is about gently, with a hospitality voice and a hospitality touch, educating our public over the transformation to a paid parking environment so that everyone understands what the rules are. They have the appropriate credentials, whether barcoded on their cars, their tag numbers registered in the program, to acknowledge the credentials of each of our user groups. And we want to manage those user groups accordingly. This isn't about issuing citation and driving up fees. This is about creating a program that solves the town's parking issues, generates the appropriate amount of return from this town's parking spaces, but really leverages the inventory of the entire market to take advantage of that. We would work with the residential parking permit program. We would look with city commissioners at should there be some one-way roads and parking on left side or right side of those roads to increase parking spaces? Is there a way to pick up inventory without hindering circulation? Those are all things that we would discover in the first phase of our implementation, which would be the diligence and discovery phase, where we would work with each of the stakeholders, each of the user groups, to make sure that we understand what's important, bring that back to the commissioners, and build a prescription based on what we've learned. We cannot come in and say, here's how we're going to do this at Flagler. Let's come and meet the 4 key user groups, understand what's important, and build a program that accommodates, right? To think of a business who's struggling to find good employees, and that employee having to pay for parking somewhere. Let's not put the handcuffs on that business. Let's understand where we can put that employee car who needs to be free or who needs to be parked at a de minimis annualized rate, right? This isn't about gouging our patrons. This is about using the demand drivers to really generate the revenue and understanding where those other user groups need to be situated and how we can displace them accordingly, right? There needs to be a parking option at every price point when you come to Flagler Beach, right? From free all the way up to the lady or gentleman who wants to get out of their car right in the front row and doesn't mind paying the $8, the $10, whatever we decide, commissioners decide the rates really need to be. We understand the third-party circulator. We have experience. We built a parking system in Annapolis that aggregated all commercial inventory, all municipal-owned inventory, and tied that together with a circulator program that's still running today, 16 years later. 16 years later. So not only did we take the city's owned spaces, but we aggregated those into an overall comprehensive parking program that included another couple of thousand parking spaces from the commercial sector that provides that parking option at all price points, right? If you don't mind riding the shuttle and you want it to be free and you're willing to make that convenience, that should be there for you. If you want to pull right up in front of the beach and get out and pay the premium rate, that should be available for you as well, and everything in between. The golf carts and the golf cart spaces, we understand that that's a big part of transportation modem around here, and it's not about parking enforcement or parking revenue collections. That is one piece of an overall mobility plan. And the mobility plan includes bicycles, includes charging stations, includes the golf carts, and everything in between. I've already mentioned this, but it's like we're not a vendor coming in here saying, here's how we're going to do this. We want to think like a doctor. We want to really listen. We want to diagnose. We want to prescribe the right technology solution, the right enforcement solution, and we want to adjust with what we've learned, continue with the continuous improvement cycle, and adjust and maintain, right? That's the approach that we want to take. We don't have some set solution that we're coming here saying, here's how we're going to run this. And there's stories around the country, and there's stories locally here at beach towns that we could drive to, local, 90 minutes north, who have had their own share of missteps when it comes to rolling out a paid parking program, right? My colleague is 90 minutes north, and he has lived some of what this particular beach town I'm talking about has done wrong, and we intend to learn from those mistakes, and we're going to go about it in a different way.
Yeah, I would add to that again. Thank you for the time this evening. Really appreciate the opportunity. But you know, what I think happens here is it's not on the commissioners. It's about It's about selecting the right partner. Because for commissioners, you don't do this every day. You know, you've not rolled a parking program out that I'm aware of hundreds or 1,000 times. So it's really about anticipating and selecting a provider that's going to be a partner. So when Jerry talks about thinking like a doctor, it is a listening tour. It's going and understanding what are the needs, what are the capabilities of the market, what are the resources in the market, and how can we design a program that best fits Flagler Beach. And, you know, for us, it's critical, even when it comes down to technology. We're not walking in here with some technology that we have in our company that we've spent millions of dollars curating and building. That's a one-size-fits-all. You know, we know all the technologies that are out there. So as we identify what the true needs are of the market here that'll best suit Flagler Beach, then we're going to make recommendations about what the technology stack should be for the program here that we believe is gonna fit the best. We don't get paid by any of these softwares or technologies. For us, it's about prescribing, like a doctor would, the right solution. So again, when we look at things that went well or didn't go well, I would say the biggest misstep really has to do with, it's not on the commissioners. It's on a one-size-fits-all program that's been rolled out in however many other cities that isn't built specifically for the community.
Thanks, Dave. Examples: confusing signage and the disputes and litigation that comes along with confusing signage. You know, how residents learn about the program and their involvement in crafting and building the program and the community involvement. You know, the big launch and so there's lots of lessons around the country we could look at the last 5 years where more and more of the municipalities are looking to monetize these parking assets, and they've just made some serious missteps in rolling out these programs. And we'd be remiss if we didn't learn from some of those mistakes and heed to some of the options as we get to those forks in the road, if you will. So we feel here we could build a city-owned brand, right? Its own parking brand. Park Flagler Beach is an example. Who knows? We would spend some time coming up with a nice name that would suit our app, which would be the one source for all things parking information. Ironically, I grabbed the Flagler Beach Beachcomber at the hotel stand over here earlier today, and went to the middle. There's a pullout of the map that has all the restaurants and all the businesses and their legend and color-coded, and we pulled it out, and there's not one parking space or one parking lot on that map. So that kind of marketing, that kind of grassroots, right, communication, making sure that everybody, regardless of how you like to receive or digest your information generationally, everybody has the information to know where the parking is, how much it costs, and what's available, real time. You know, the shuttles, we can take advantage of some of these remote lots to get some of the employees or some of the beachgoers who are willing to be a little more remote outside of the central business district. We want those spaces for business turnover. We need those street spaces for the 2 to 3 hour car that turns over and patronizes these restaurants or these shops or these other businesses. Let's not clog those precious transient, if you will, spaces up with the 7, 8, 9 hour car, right? Let's build a program for the residents first. Protect the residents first. Center to our program, right? But but build around that, right? The revenue can come from the demand, right? The upside should come from the demand, not on the back of the residents. And we look at this through a whole community lens, right? This is residents, this is merchants, this is business owners, this is the employee base, this is the hospitality providers in town, right? We want to take this all into consideration so that everybody comes to Flagler Beach thinking that they have a place to park and they know by the time they get here where that is and about what it's going to cost. More of the same in the spirit of being expeditious and getting to some of the questions. Again, this is just listening tour with all of the groups, the chambers, the merchant associations, the resident associations. Communicate very clearly, right? Make sure that when we roll this out, the signage is clear, the enforcement's clear, the conversion's clear. We're not here to tow cars. We're here to teach people this is now a paid parking environment, and here are your options and the easiest way to comply. Build local ownership, right? We start with, again, you know this market better than any one of these parking operators going to walk through this door. We need to lean on you to craft the right program. And then accountability. Accountability to the investment that's made, which we are happy to make, the necessary investment in hardware, software, SaaS. We are more than willing to put our balance sheet to work with the right partnership here at Flagler Beach to make the investments necessary. The worst thing we can do is roll out a parking program in this day and age and skimp on the rollout, the technology, or the communication. This will need a small marketing program to help communicate the change, and communicate the change in a positive way with a positive spin to those particular stakeholders. Again, more of the same. We can continue there, Greg. And we say this is what we think the first 90 days would look like. And the first 30 days of engagement, we're listening and mapping. We're boots on the ground. Dan's here. I'm here. We're in work groups with the stakeholders, learning, listening, making sure we understand what's important and what the needs are. And then we design the program together. The rates, the right technology application, the enforcement criteria, how we intend to enforce. And then we begin the soft launch 60 days into the engagement where we can begin the information campaigns, merchant briefings, and begin to roll out with extended grace periods and just more of the education, right? They say great businesses train their customers. Well, we here at Flagler Beach have an opportunity to train our customers coming to the beach, coming to the town, and that is not going to be an easy endeavor, right? But we understand it's going to be a critically important endeavor that we train the customers on how to use the system, how to register, how to build their profile, their tag number, their car type into the system so that for the resident whose tag number is already in the system, they have nothing to do ever other than put their tag number in that one time, and we know that they live at this address, at this zip code, and they're indeed a Flagler Beach resident, right? So the technology application will all come as a result of the design together portion of this, right? How do we want to enforce? What do we want the enforcement criteria, regulations to be? And how do we want to deal with those who are just blatant violators of the system, right? We'll decide all of that together. So why us? You got founder access. It's not where you don't have the regional manager or the district manager or the area manager. You've got us. You've got Dan Collins 90 minutes away. We will hire a local Flagler Beach resident to be our boots on the ground. We're hand in hand with Dan in this particular market. Complete transparency. One of the advantages to our technology, our specification will be we do not own this technology. We do not own the information. The city of Flagler Beach will own all of this information and have complete total access into the system and into the data that the system provides. Some of our competitors are using their proprietary systems, and you have limited access to the data they collect. That's not how we're building our business. That's not how we're running our business, right? We're in the business of providing parking services, not selling our data. You own that data. Plan alignment, right? We're going to align all the tenets of these plans and move toward the Mobility 2050 plan, right? And I would like you to think of P3 not as your parking provider, but as your mobility provider. Is it shuttles? Is it micromobility? Is it valet parking on key weekends or key events out here in the square of town? And then shared success. We know that for the program to work, the program isn't measured by how many citations we write, right? The program is measured by the cohesiveness and the comprehensiveness and the fluidity within the community and the stakeholders and the user groups. I know we recognize on the scorecards there was an issue on some of the veteran-led status of our company, and we're happy to provide the appropriate documentation to validate the veteran portion of our business, because that seemed to carry some weight and was rather important to the evaluation committee. So I don't want to overlook the fact that we do have the necessary documentation if that wasn't included in the first submission. And I said it a moment ago, great parking programs aren't measured by the number of citations they issue. They're measured by the confidence they create in the communities we serve. I'd say P3 in this case is a public-private partnership. Thanks for your time. I went very briefly to get to the questions and the comments and the collaboration, if you will. So if we want to go back to anything that I glazed over in the spirit of being expeditious, I'm happy to do that. But otherwise, we're happy to talk about questions and concerns and what we may have to do to earn your confidence. We're going to work harder than anybody who walks through those doors tonight on this job, because we have something to prove. We need this in our cap. We want this to be a location that the city of Flagler Beach is saying, man, these guys did everything they said they were going to do. And we couldn't have picked a better partner. And we're going to outwork everybody who comes through that door tonight to make that happen.
All right, thank you. We'll jump right into questions just for keep on time. You're already,
I'll pass it up to
Commissioner Santori, we'll start with you.
I just didn't know if you had any concrete numbers for us, like admin fees or the cost of, LPR readers, or any data that you have?
No, we do not. I wasn't aware that we should be prepared with that kind of detail today. And if that's something that will help between now and the evaluation of September 10th, we can certainly follow up with the appropriate information that you're requesting.
Okay. Do you have any municipalities that are similar in size to us, or that you work with now, and you could tell us a little bit about the experience there?
We don't. We're working closely with a quasi-private public agency. Baltimore Peninsula in Baltimore, Maryland has recently carved itself out from the city of Baltimore into a business district, and we are operating 3 of the accounts there and pursuing the 4th, where all on-street enforcement and all of the assets, all the parking spaces in that particular peninsula are managed the way we would intend to manage Flagler. Various owners, some municipal owned and some on-street spaces, but all part of the 1,600 space inventory that we'll use to manage the traffic and mobility flow on that peninsula. In that location, we do have 3 of the assets that we manage.
All right, Commissioner Cunningham.
And in that particular application, I'm sorry, we are using a combination of the Park Mobile application and Flash, which is Express Park, all of which drive outside. The technology application, it will be important that we use a technology that allows us to market to those spaces to people who are searching for parking on the internet. So whatever technology we bring forward would most likely have that capability if acceptable to the commission.
We're good on time if you got another one.
Maybe you were addressing that continuity-wise, I asked before, but so like if you have customers out of state and they come to Flagler Beach and they come to sign up, like would they already have an account and it'd be a lot easier for them to pay, or would they have to do a separate enrollment process?
No, if they're part of either one of the platforms that tie to our application, they would not. They would be recognized either by last name or by license plate in many cases. Yes, but no, these systems do tie. And once you're in the system, Express Park as an example, once you're in the Express Park system, it recognizes your tag number when you drive up, right? If you're in the system and you scan a QR code, which would be probably the payment method here, you would just simply enter your tag number. It would know that your car's in the system. We'd recognize you by name. We would have your credentials on file. So yes, once in the system, you're already recognized.
All right, Commissioner Cunningham.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out and taking a look at our parking situation. Really appreciate you looking at our 2050 plan. I kind of mentioned that to the city manager about when we just talked briefly yesterday, so I really appreciate that. You know, you mentioned that you would have somebody here on site in Flagler Beach. Would you guys have somebody helping with enforcement? Like, I know your guys' plans are kind of like, okay, let's listen, let's see what, you know, fits best for the community. But, you know, with all your years of experience of doing this, how would you guys recommend? I mean, I know it's, you know, again, it's going to be kind of a, you know, put together that fits the best needs for the city. But, you know, our police department, we're a small community. And I know, you know, in my years up here, I think that was maybe one of the struggles we had. I mean, Commissioner Coyle, I don't know if you can agree to that, you know, parking enforcement's always been something relatively difficult. I mean, our police department's been doing a good job of it, but like I think having, you know, a set of boots on the ground through enforcement through a third party would probably help take some of that burden off, especially with the growth that's coming on, you know, within our community, but also outside the confines of our community, where, you know, these developers are marketing on our beaches to, you know, maybe bring people to this area due to the location of where they are in Flagler Beach. So there, you know, as you mentioned, there's a lot of non-residents. You know, the non-residents outweigh the residents here, as far as our consumer base would go, as far as parking goes. So just out of curiosity, in your implementation plan, how would you guys go about that? Would you guys, you know, based on your experiences, would you recommend something like that?
Yes, you would. In essence, again, I'm premature in this prescription, but it seems to me with the size of the opportunity here and the work that needs to be done, we would put what we would call boots on the ground. You would get a parking department head with our solution, right? That would report to whoever we designate, whether it's someone in police or someone in, you know, central service. I'm not sure how we're organized, but you would essentially get a department head. Our liaison, our boots on the ground would be here every day, 6-7 days a week, as much as it takes, supplemented by hourly staff to do the enforcement and the meetings and the other things. But no, we would have a parking department head that would come with our system to be part of your team, report directly to whoever we were designated to report to. And ultimately working for Dan out of the northern office where he's located. But yeah, we would have someone here, and you will ultimately have say in that person. By the way, we would put a candidate or two from our system, from our recruiting efforts, if we hired someone new in front of you, and you say, yeah, we like that Jerry guy, he'd be a good fit, or that Greg guy, we're not really sure if he's going to make it down here in Flagler Beach. Maybe send us another candidate. So you would be part of that decision, complete transparency. And you guys would, you know, sort of bless who we would assign to this to this account.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Cunningham.
I know you mentioned a couple of private equity companies that bought your other companies. Was it parking companies that they bought?
Dan's company was a marina management company. And yes, the parking company that I built for 30 years of my life, I sold that to private equity, yeah.
Must have had a good EBITDA. And you started building the new one up? I'm sure you had to sign a non-compete when you sold it, I would
signed a
imagine.
non-compete. I sat on the sidelines. I raised my 3 kids, got them up into high school, and now we're back in business, and we're building a great company. The first company we were employee owned, so at Town Park, just like at P3. Our teammates earn their way into the ownership ranks of the company. The boots on the ground that I talked about here in Flagler Beach would have an opportunity to earn himself equity in the company, earn herself equity in the company as a result of their performance and their ability to grow their market. We wouldn't come to Flagler Beach for just this one account. This would be a great anchor for us, but we would then begin to add other accounts so we could afford the level of talent that we want to be able to put on the Flagler Beach account. So for us, it's building the beachhead so that we've got enough volume so we can properly resource this with the talent necessary to run a world-class parking program. And we're not selling this from the private equity, John, if that's where you're going. There's no intention to build and sell this company. We both have children.
Money talks.
We both have children now, and You know, the first time around, there was no kids and not much of a legacy, but now there's kids, and we're building this business to run it for the next 30 years.
Some of those private equities will make it something you can't turn down.
Well,
And even though they usually only hold on to it for about 5 years.
probably
Get
not
rid of it.
tonight, John, but I'd love to share some of the horror stories of what I shouldn't have done the first time.
Yeah, I mean, all right. I got lots of questions, but I'll write them down for the sake of time. And,
Anything
Get into
specific
you.
that I could, that we could get to?
well, just the cost and details of the details, basically. Kiosk, enforcement, all that
Yep.
jazz.
Yeah, and, we're happy to follow up with that with, you know, again, with the right specifics. We didn't want to sort of come in saying, here's what we should do until we gathered all the information to make sure that we really understood what we were prescribing here.
Yeah. Good presentation.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Mr. Santori?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, I was really impressed by the stat you put up there, the 94.5% retention rate, and that was with your old parking company?
Sure.
That's impressive.
Sir, we had two types of attrition in that 5.5%, and we called it regrettable attrition and forced attrition, right? And some accounts are okay to lose. In that 94.5%, the 5.5% of attrition that we realized over that 28-year run, that was regrettable attrition and forced attrition as well. So it's something we're very, very proud of, and I think it points to really partnering with our clients, digging deep to find out what it takes to satisfy them every month, to win that job when it comes up the next 3 years for bid, and truly being a partner, not a vendor. And that's the culture we built, and I had 145 employee owners in the company that carried that torch across the country in 53 markets. So something we were very proud of. When I just walked out and saw my buddy, when I just walked out here and saw my buddy Mark Pratt walking out on the first presentation, he goes, "Oh man, you again?" So I know he's excited that we're back.
Sean or Commissioner Cunningham, you guys have any other questions? We're doing good on time. City Manager?
I'm intrigued by your concept of adding non-public parking to the pool, and how is that, let's take Commissioner Cooley, for example. Commissioner Cooley owns a 7-Eleven with a parking lot right across from the beach. So is your general concept that you can monetize, and would he get revenue for, if you strike an agreement with the church, Commissioner Santori attends that church, Commissioner Cooley owns access to a parking lot, how does that general concept work?
So, first of all, we have to determine which of the commercial space really has a use in the overall program. I don't know how many spaces are at the 7-Eleven, but my initial reaction would be a convenience store with high traffic, lots of in and outs, lots of transactions. We're not going to get the luxury of using a lot of space there. However, we identified 3 other commercial lots, private property lots around town today that would be perfect environments to drive parking revenue in. This is about not clogging up our streets. This is about not clogging up traffic while people are circling, looking for a parking space. This is about creating parking options at all price points. So if the church, as an example, would be willing to participate in our program, certainly there's revenue that would be going to that church for cars going to that lot. There's a couple commercial lots here, very in the CBD, that would be tremendous rev shares for those commercial property owners, where we would come up with some sort of arrangement based on a sliding scale, and sharing that revenue with them, the majority of which goes to the property owner, right? If we can, use an example, if we can use a commercial lot and generate $100,000 a year in that parking lot, 25, 30% of that is all we need to cover our expenses, our tech fee, and make a reasonable margin. So the lion's share of those revenue streams will go to the owners. Not every commercial parking space owner is going to say, hey, sure, I'd love a little extra money. Let me be part of the program as long as it doesn't displace my customers, right? We can build that program. Some are just going to go, hey, we don't want to be part of it. We think this is a bad idea, and good luck. And we'll just have to, over time, work that relationship and show them the light. And it's an easy way to generate additional revenue on your real estate asset with no burden and no monitoring or workload on the particular property owner. Our objective is to add as much space to the aggregate inventory as possible, so we have a place to take those cars or direct those cars, right? We've got 400 plus spaces under this RFQ that we're talking about. I think there's 1,100 spaces in town that we could be maximizing, utilizing to handle the parking needs as people are coming across that bridge during peak times.
Dale, I just add that, we also, identified other areas that are owned, I believe, by Flagler Beach, that currently, don't have parking on them, but with, some site improvements, also could be, additional parking to increase the capacity as well. So it's not just what's out there today that we see. We also envision other areas today that are underutilized that could be.
65 cars could be, with the right cell pave treatment, over by the water tower as an example, right? There are places we can 40 here, 50 there, 30 over there to really increase the aggregate inventory that we're managing here, which would be the objective.
Questions? Any questions from up here or city manager? Any further information you want to share since you got a couple minutes? Because I know you went through it pretty quick.
Yeah, well, and I apologize for that. I really wanted to get to the important questions. And look, we said it there a couple of times, different ways. This is about who you select, and the work that we're going to do, digging in before we put up the first sign, the first QR code, discuss the first parking rate. Right? There are 60, 75 days of discovery and diligence with these stakeholder user groups to really get into what's important. Where are your employees parking, Mr. Restaurateur, Mr. Hotelier, who's come up in the last year or so with it, right? Really understand what's important to them so that we can build a prescription that accommodates those, gets them out of the turnover transient spaces that we want for the central business district and the business activity, and then allows us to drive revenue on the demand generators, those who are driving across the bridge to come to our beach, to use our facilities, and then creating validation programs around that to then drive those people into the businesses and give them a break on parking or a discount on parking or free parking, right? So we can build a validation program that gets them here, gets them parked, gets them paid, and then gives them their money back if they dine in your restaurant or they buy something in your shop or your boutique. Right? So building a validation program, I think, is something that we didn't talk about that is really, really important to the businesses, right? This needs to be easy and friendly for the business. This can't be a deterrent to get someone to come to my restaurant or down to my shop, right? And we understand that. And I just would like to say that you're going to get the three founders. These are the three guys working on this project until such time we hire the boots on the ground that would actually be our enforcement and our day-to-day.
So I imagine this is possible, but I'll ask. So we have a heavy vacation rental community here, and they have visitors coming in and out constantly. And even though we'd have to figure out if we want to do it or not, but is the option available for that vacation rental owner to enter in a plate or two constantly, to get them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. In one of the systems we was prescribed, there will be a portal that, as a resident or a vacation homeowner, you would have access to that portal. Inside that portal, you could go in and add the passes the license plates that you want to allow, buy additional passes if that's what you want it to happen. So yeah, this would be a self-service, build your profile, give us the make, model, license plate of your car, and that then in turn gives you the privileges that we could create with the rates or the enforcement or other things. But yeah, no, we can build a program to accommodate the vacation rentals and some number of those.
Mm-hmm.
We're on a project now in Virginia Beach Fishing Center, in Virginia Beach at a big marina that has 8, 9 large charter boats that come in every day with lots of people, right? So some of those charter boats want to pay for everyone's parking. Some of those charter boats don't care and want everyone to pay their own $8. Some of those charter boats in their lease agreement, their slip agreements with that marina, have a certain number of cars for free. So we had to build a program very similar to what you're talking about that allows each one of those charter boat users to go in and comply with their own parking credentials and issue parking validations, right? It's not about charging everyone. It's about knowing who everyone is and trying to get them in the right place.
Thank you.
And we'll use charging to get them in the right place. But it's about knowing who everyone is and get them in the right lot or in the right space or in the right parking option.
All right, further questions or comments?
I'd also just want to say real quick that you'll notice that in this presentation, there are actual pictures of Flagler Beach. In the first presentation, we had pictures in there that I did through AI because one of the companies I owned was a media company. I'm very nervous about copyright. So I just wanted to let you know that if you looked at the pictures in the first one, those were me and my friend ChatGPT. So
Yeah, I know we don't. That was it. Thank you.
We did notice that.
We wouldn't want to, we wouldn't want to use your copyright or trademark pictures for, without any permission, so.
right.
We got it right this time.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Dan, that's, I guess Dan said something here that I think if now that I got a few more seconds just to share. Look, this is who we are, right? We're not going to get it right. We're not going to be perfect. We're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but you're going to love how we respond. When you ring the bell, you're going to love how we respond. And when we don't get it right, that's when we shine the most because we know we screwed up and we're there to recover. So if you do any reference checks on any of us and our history in parking, that's one resonating theme. They're not perfect, but boy, they respond the way they're supposed to. So we're looking forward to the chance.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all's time.
Yes, sir.
Next one is Laz.
Thank you again, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Headed back over the bridge. OPP.
How are you?
Come on in. Get yourselves at home. Y'all got a presentation?
We do. You didn't choose your line.
Oh, nice. Good. Anybody need anything? We're good. All good?
Jump up.
Evening, how are you?
We'll just do it.
Thank you. All right, Thank you. How are you doing? All right, gentlemen.
Thank you for coming out. And what we're doing is we're doing a 30-minute, 30-minute presentation, and we extended questions to 20 minutes just because we seem to go along on the question portion.
Sure.
So I'd like to turn it over to you, and the floor is yours.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you. Actually, make sure, yeah, you need the clicker. Just go to the next slide, yeah. That's the wrong presentation. But anyway, I'll go ahead and start while she gets it organized. So thank you for having us here. I know this is a very informational and a challenging process that you guys have been going through for a long time to try to figure this out. And come up here. I'll just do a quick little introduction of the team between all of us and then turn it over to the ops team. We can go through these things. We'll go through our presentation for you, obviously then address the questions. Very quickly, my name is Chris Walsh. I'm a Senior Vice President with Laz Parking. I've been with Laz for over 20 years.
Go ahead, just, let me just do it.
I'm Louis Macedo. I'm the RVP for the state of Florida, and I've been with Labs for over 20 years as well.
That's Natalie Garcia over here working through it. She is our business development individual. Damian Paz, he is an operations manager, and Damian's been with us for a very long time as well. Why don't you two guys stand up since these guys are on the ground, the ops team. So ultimately when it gets to that point, I can stand in front of the room and say whatever, but these are the guys that are truly grinding it out day to day. So we always really try to get them incorporated in what we're doing. Okay.
Hi, I'm Ben Edward, project manager, currently managing Ocean Center Garage down in Daytona Beach, and I'll be happy to help out here as well.
Good evening, I'm Mark Garcia. I've been with Laz for over 10 years. I'm based in St. Johns County, less than 50 miles, so also here overseeing the operations in North Florida.
All right, so while Nat is figuring that out, you got it, Nat? So just real quick, I don't mind going through. You can go to that slide. So very quickly, just to give you guys a brief overview, Laz has been in business since 1981. We are a privately held company based out of Hartford. I'm a partner with the company, as Louis had mentioned earlier, as being the regional vice president. As we go through this, and I don't want to steal the thunder from later, but as we go through this, I think one of the advantages that we have over a lot of other folks out there is you're dealing with two partners and decision makers of the group. We're going to come in, we're going to bring our expertise, our experience, we're going to sit with each of you or whomever in your, the groups, the field, the entities that are involved with the types of operations, and we're going to sit with them and we're going to be involved. This isn't just coming in to make a pitch and talk to you guys about why we're so great. I will turn it over to Nat here in a couple of minutes to talk about it, but we're fully vested. This is, we look for long-term partnerships. We're all residents in the state of Florida. Been here for quite a long time as well. So for us to expand into a city like this that we've known but hasn't got here yet is a very exciting opportunity for us to be involved with that. So why don't you bring that over here so we can, yeah.
For some reason, the live link is not available on this computer. So.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to Nat and let's just let her go through it and we can go from there.
I'll get to the interesting stuff. Less about us and more about how we can help Flagler Beach and the goals that you guys are currently investigating and exploring as a team. So as both Louis and Chris said, we have a lot of experience in municipal parking. We've been an operator in this silo, as we call it, section and sector of our industry, and we have over 176 contracts with cities everywhere. From City of Chicago, City of South Miami, City of Coral Gables, and we really do pride ourselves on bringing our team's expertise at a scale, right? So we'll give you our national resources, our national backing, all of the things that we have as a giant company, but we will give you those local nuances that you need for a market like Flagler Beach, right? Our regional office and headquarters is in Miami, so we know what it's like to have fluctuating seasons where you have folks coming in, utilizing all of your parking assets, and never feeling like you have enough parking for the amount of people visiting your beach, right? So we're very familiar with what that feels like. We also operate at a lot of cities that experience the same thing. Some examples here. So we have the city of Destin, which is pretty close to y'all right here. We also have the city of Nashville and the city of Coral Gables. One that's not on there is the city of South Miami, which we're pretty proud about because we've been serving that same city for 19 years, even though it's gone out to rebid multiple times. So they have selected to stay with us, and that's what Louis and Chris were talking about. We seek long-term partnership because this is not just a state where our company operates, it's our home. There will be slides here that you guys can explore at your own time. I don't want to bore you with additional details. I really want to focus on what we can do for Flagler Beach. But just something that I think is super important about Laz is our culture. I mean, you see my SVP sitting here, right? I don't know how many other companies are going to bring you an SVP that's actually going to come and be a part of this operation, understand what we're doing here, know the nuances of our team on site. know how we are going to help the city itself, right? How we are, as a company, going to be engaged with the community of Flagler Beach, not just those who come for the beach access or for the different restaurants and venues you have here. That's something that's very key to our culture. So now, the important part. We know the history of Flagler Beach quite a bit, right? I'm born and raised in Florida, so I'm very familiar that this is a question you guys have asked more than once, right? It's something that you guys have explored many times because something keeps happening, right? You don't have more parking, but you have more people visiting Flagler Beach. So now you have a question. What do I do when the supply is not enough and my residents are funding beach access, beach use, tourism to the city, but we are not the ones using it? We're the ones directly impacted by a lack of a parking program. So we understand this is not a new question for Flagler Beach. We understand that it's not an easy decision, that residents often are worried, like, oh, well, what happens if we have a paid parking program? How does that affect us? This is not something that's new to us. We've been there. We've been in that experience. We've been a partner in those situations and definitely know how to walk our city partners through that experience. Now, in your RFQ request, what you are asking for is for us to give you a coordinated program, not giving you 3 different programs for your on-street, off-street, and your lots all separated. We're going to give you one cohesive thing, one that is led by our ambassadors that are ambassadors for Flagler Beach. We're not that kind of company that's going to strap our logo and only our logo on a shirt and say, well, LAS does your parking. No, the city of Flagler Beach does your parking. The people that serve your community do your parking. And we're just the partner behind the scenes. We also know how important it is to make sure residents and owners in this community who have an invested interest, who are stakeholders in this community, are not impacted by a paid parking program. If you recall in the RFP response that we put together for your RFQ, essentially what I was trying to get across was that for us, it's important too. These are the people that we would be representing as your parking operator. These are the people who have a stake in whether or not this parking program is successful. These are the people we respond to. These are the people our employees will deal with on a daily basis. These are the people that we have to help because they're the ones currently being directly impacted by a high demand and not enough supply in parking. So that's what's important to us too. We also have technology solutions that address that concern so that residents know from day one, we're not here to charge you for being home. We're here to charge people who are coming to your beach, coming to your restaurants, coming to your community, and impacting your ability to park in it so that it can fund the things that the city needs and the city wants. A lot harder to do this on PDF. My apologies, guys. If I could just click, right? It would make life a lot easier. So we're going to talk a little bit about operations and enforcement. We're going to breeze through some technology, and then we're going to touch base on what I think is the most important factor of this, is how we've done this before and how we intend to bring the community along for that ride. We believe that that is the biggest point, right? You can't launch a parking program in a city that's never had one if they don't buy into that idea, if they don't believe it's possible to do without the friction they're expecting. So how do we kind of do that through operations? We use an ambassador-led approach. Like I was mentioning, we don't just slap a LAS logo on our shirts and say, okay, go enforce parking in such and such city. That's not a human element. That's not what you need in a city that's trying this for the very first time. You need people who are the parking program for the city of Flagler Beach, that represent the city proudly, but also can ask questions about it. Like, where's the nearest gas station? Where can I get good seafood? Where can I get a great sandwich? Do you know anything that's open late? Where can I get a good cup of coffee? You want our team to be able to answer those questions because they're ambassadors for your city every time they step foot in it in an official capacity. So that is how we do this in operation, not just technology, but definitely in operation. Now, this is the other key to the resident component that we were talking about. This is something that we know in your RFQ was of the utmost importance. How will we deal with owners and resident exemptions? So we believe that through software, we can do this, and we've done it before. Essentially, I'll give you a very quick explanation. We have a city, Destin, where if you are a resident of that city, you're not charged for parking. Essentially, what you do is you fill out online your registration information proving that you're a verified resident of the city. That license plate then gets loaded into Passport on what's called a whitelist. Those folks do not get ticketed because they have a permit to park. We also address a bit about the permitting when we discuss business owners later on. So these are important things to keep in mind. So whenever an LPR vehicle or a manual enforcement officer is walking by a vehicle of a resident, they know that they cannot give tickets to that vehicle. So here's a bit about employees that I was mentioning. So you have several options. I put 3 together. Obviously, there are many configurations that can be worked out depending on how the city wants to work with their businesses. Option A would be a time-bound permit, so during the hours of operation of that business, or even if it's during the hours of that person's shift, right? And if there's an exception, that can be made whenever it's necessary. You can also have the employment duration period. So this would be businesses that have long-term staff. So say I work for you and I have a year contract. So every year I would have to renew that permit to continue to park as part of the business permitted parking. The last is a shift-based session code. So we're proposing Labs Go, which is a platform where you would just scan and pay. Well, we can give validation codes to businesses that would allow them to have a session for a specific duration of time, allowing enough time for them to arrive early enough for their shift and also with enough time get their stuff and leave. So we're willing to work around what the city needs to ensure that their businesses are supported. We know that's what drives people to your city, not just a gorgeous beach that's a couple feet away. The big key, I think for us at least, is that we don't think that you can really start a parking program if you don't ease folks into it, right? This is a big change. I mean, this has been a conversation ongoing in the city of Flagler Beach for the last 40 years. If you're going to make this change, it has to be one that's gradual, one that residents and businesses feel they're supported in. How we do that is having a 90-day pilot program before we even have penalties. So for example, if you are using a parking spot that has Labs Go and you're a guest, you'll receive a warning letting you know that in 90 days, enforcement will begin, and the next time it will be a ticket, not a warning, right? This eases the community into that change, rather than it being from one day to the next, now I have a ticket on my windshield and I don't know why, or I received a ticket in the mail and I don't know why, right? So we want people to feel like they're being guided through this experience because change is difficult. So we believe in 90-day pilot programs for cities that have new paid parking allows for that process to be easy, gradual, and allows people to go through it with eyes open, informed every step of the way. Like I said, the city and its residents are our stakeholders. So it's just as important to us that they feel that in those 90 days, they have the opportunity to communicate with us, engage with us, and share their feedback. Part 2, right? Like I mentioned, we're going to jump in a little bit into technology. Technology is a key part. Those permits that I was talking about for residents and businesses, those come through a piece of technology known as Passport, which I believe you're hearing from those folks a bit later today. So some technology considerations. So some of the things that we do, for example, in a city like Destin, that is a coastal town just like Flagler Beach, is we use SerVision LPR. This is something that happens gradually with the operation. It doesn't happen right away. Like I said, we want to have that interaction with residents and visitors of Flagler Beach. So at first you will see manned enforcement. but SurVision allows for capturing of that process of enforcement. It will document everything, it takes images in a matter of seconds, and it has a 98% accuracy, which is super helpful as you're enforcing, especially along the A1A corridor and along the beach. LASBI, one of the things that you guys really requested was having visibility, real visibility in what's happening in your parking program. LASBI does that. It feeds all of the information from all of the data points and technologies we would implement and use for Flagler Beach so that you can see it in a dashboard that's live. So you never have to wonder what decisions are being made, what the staffing looks like, how much enforcement is happening, how much revenue is being made. All of that is accessible to you in real time because you shouldn't be blind through this process either. Third, LASGO. This is our software that's super easy to use. You scan your QR code, you park your car, and you're all set. The best part is people can extend if they're having a great time in Flagler Beach. They don't have to leave the beach to go back to their car because it's completely meterless. They can do it from their phone. They're at a restaurant and their dinner's taking a bit long because they're having a great time, a great glass of wine, or they wanted a bit of dessert. They don't have to rush out of the restaurant because their parking might expire. They have plenty of time when they can extend right from their phone. Uh-oh, okay. For a second there, I thought the mouse died. So you're going to see that there's additional slides on each piece of the technology. I'm not going to get into those in detail. You guys have our proposal, so you know quite a bit about this already. Now, I think this is probably the most important part of our presentation. This is our proven coastal experience. This is what we've been able to do for the city of Destin and what we think we can do for the city of Flagler Beach. And I'm confident that we can. So, City of Destin has very similar conditions as the city of Flagler Beach. There we manage about 467 spaces. Here you're asking us to manage 400. One of the issues that they were concerned with is how can we make sure that in this community that is enforcement sensitive and risk averse and wants a community first approach, how can LAS be a differentiator here? I'll show you now how we were able to do that. So this I'll let you dive into on your own. It just basically talks about what our overview and experience has been at the City of Destin, our interactions with our client there. What you really probably care about is this information, right? So we took over the City of Destin in March of 2026. When we took over, within the first month, they had 91% increase in gross revenue, and they had an 83% increase in parking transactions. That is an astronomical difference from where they started. You can see right here, they had a transaction count of 3,723. With LAS, they had 6,798. And we almost doubled the amount of revenue they made. Now, if you go to the historical performance, in the years prior to working with LAS, 2025, they were expected to make 1.02. With us, within 4 months, they made $935,000. In enforcement, in 2025, they made $12,000. With 4 months working with LAS, they've made $130,000. So we've achieved in 4 months what they couldn't in 12 months without our help, without our partnership. And we've worked very closely with the City of Destin to make sure that we're constantly refining the program to work for their residents, to work for what the city needs. And we adjust together in partnership. Now you can see a bit more of the results here. If you look at the grand total, in 4 months, from March to June, we're at 1.07 million, and prior, they were at 1.03 in 12 months for the year prior. So you can see that growth. You can also see the growth in enforcement versus parking revenue. Another metric that might be important to you guys. If you're picking a partner, I want to know why people pick them. I think the best indicator of why people pick us has a lot to do with why they stay, right? You get community, you get culture, you get a team that works together. We have team members who have operations on business development. I have shown up in a polo in the hot sun and figured out how we're going to drive traffic into a stadium. Not once has anyone ever complained that your title is this, your job is that. We're a team, and we show up like one, and we do that for every single one of our clients. We've worked with the city of South Miami since 2007. They've rebid multiple times and keep coming back to us. 0 of our municipal clients have terminated before expiration. That is, I think, the biggest testament as to why we probably would be a great partner for this city. We know what coastal cities are like, and we know what our clients need from us to show up. Now I'm going to let my colleague Mark jump in here to talk a little bit about an idea he had when he was exploring your city.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks.
Scroll up for you. I do apologize. PDFs are not. Oh, the mouse. Yeah, the mouse is down.
All right, while we get that set up, just talking about community engagement, you know, community engagement is vital to this program. You know, there's 5,500 residents in Flagler Beach. We want to be able to be the touch point for every last one of them. And looking through how we could get the word out and answer questions and help enroll people in the community, we thought of the farmers market every Saturday from 9 to 1 to participate in that every week through the pilot program. So you're talking about potentially 12 to 13 weeks of us being out there, assisting people with enrollment, getting them used to the program, answering questions. And it goes beyond just the Flagler Beach residents. We have 120,000 residents in Palm Coast, obviously, that are patronizing the beach that I'm sure have concerns and want some questions answered as well. So for us, it's every Saturday, 9 to 1, being out here on the ground, the same team, the local team, answering questions and getting people acclimated to the program and what's to come. And then after that pilot period ends, we probably would continue at the farmers market once or twice a month, depending upon feedback from the community and, you know, what comes back from the program as we roll it out. Beyond that, how do we get the word out? You know, digital channels, ad campaigns, appropriate signage, notice by mail, just any way we can inform folks about us being there, to be there as a resource and answer questions that they might have about the program, and more importantly, helping them enroll, especially the residents, to make sure that once we do go live, that they're already on the white list. They're accounted for. They don't have to worry about getting a ticket and having to deal with the back end of that. Okay.
Along those lines, I think something that's very important is before you pick a partner, you want to know who's picked them before and what their experience has been with LAS. What it's like to work with our team. Is everything I'm saying here just a pretty pitch, or is it reality? You can contact some of our clients right here, the city of South Miami, who, like I said, has been with us since 2007 and keeps picking us, and we hope they'll pick us for 100 years more. We have the city of Coral Gables, where we do a valet and off-street operation, as well as run multiple garages. Our GM here is who overlooks that. We have Volusia County, which is not that far from you guys either, and the city of Jacksonville, Florida, where we're managing multiple garages and off-street parking. Now, I think the key is, if we were to partner on this, what would this potentially look like? Obviously, this is completely entirely up to the city. If this is the time in which you want to take that opportunity of doing something about the small amount of supply you have and the overwhelmingly increasing demand the city faces, especially during peak season here in Florida. So one of the timelines that I put together within the proposal response was what this would look like. We know that there's a big moment happening for the city of Flagler Beach when that pier reopens. We know that folks are going to flock to see it, to walk it, to experience it. It's one of the most beautiful things about this part of Florida. You guys have long piers, where us down in South Florida, we don't really have that experience. So it's a beautiful thing for people to have the pier reopen. We know that it's reopening on February 1st. So our thought is, if you were going to choose a partner, for example, us, or whoever you choose, in our timeline, it would make sense to start somewhere around November 1st. So that November through January is that pilot period we're talking about, where people will be able to discuss with us, enroll their vehicles so that they're on that white list. We can calibrate the program to fit the city's needs. We can embed ourselves in the community through the farmers markets and other activations throughout the city. And we can establish a baseline in those 90 days of what the parking program needs to be when it's fully launched on February 1st, when the pier opens as well. So when visitors come to the pier for the first time in many, many years as it's been under construction, the parking experience will set the tone. They'll come see Flagler Beach. But we will be prepared to make sure that every vehicle that comes here, that is not a resident of the city of Flagler Beach, that is not a business of the city of Flagler Beach, that is not a stakeholder in this community, is paying for the beach access, is paying for a community improvement program, is paying for whatever the city chooses to allocate those funds towards. So I believe that's all I have for you. So whenever you guys have any questions, we're here to answer them.
All right. We'll move to questions. All right, commissioners, who wants to go first? We'll go with you, Sherman.
All right, you put me on the spot. No, enjoyed your presentation. I thought, I liked your proactive approach about if we were to go with you guys having some, having some sort of level of service for people and educating. I think that's a big thing we're going to need here in this community is educating the general public, and having that presence there at the farmers market would be big, or have you guys there on our First Friday event, get them a table or something like that out there. As far as like enforcement goes and things like that, I also liked your ambassador program. I lived in Hawaii for a little bit, lived in Waikiki, and we had an ambassador program there, and that was pretty, very helpful for the tourists there. We had paid parking there too, obviously, but you guys would be twofold then, I guess, with that. And so I also like the fact that you guys would, we have an old, I think Commissioner Cunningham had touched on, we have an older population here. So at your, this is my question for you, at your tables that you would have there, would you assist the residents with actually getting on that white list?
Yes.
Okay.
So we provided two options. Obviously, we'll do this during the farmers market or any other activations that you guys give us the opportunity to participate in. But we can also have staff come either as frequently as necessary or throughout the time we're here to provide that registration on site. So we provided both options to the city. So if you guys choose to have us on site all the time, we're happy to be here. If you guys want us to come and do those registrations during city activations, we can do that as well. So it's really at your discretion, but the answer is yes. We'll do those registrations whenever we can interact with the community.
Okay, and then one last question for you guys. What's your, do you have any ballpark figure of what the startup would be with you guys? We had one that said, I can't remember what their startup fee would be. What would you think our upfront cost would be to onboard with you guys?
I would have to defer this question to either Louis or Chris, who set up the city of Destin. It would be very similar parking program.
So we had something very similar to this when we were setting up City of Destin.
Okay.
And I think when we had that first question, it was really a nominal cost. We're talking about signage. We're talking about, staffing, depending on how much staff we had. So we would put something together, and we did for the City of Destin's.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, because there we went with a vehicle with the camera to drive around the beach lots, obviously, just because it's a little more spread out than here, per se. So from our lens, so there was just a little bit of upfront cost, which we upfronted, and then it was a payback schedule. It can be amortized. I mean, we can be very, understanding of budgets. sensitivities in that way, so we can work through how that goes. But yeah, ultimately the signage is relatively, I mean, it's relatively inexpensive. It's basically an aluminum with a QR code. So and it can be hung. I mean, again, it's depending on what type of, the hurricane, the weather, there are some factors and things that we've got to look into. But I don't think, to be honest, excluding the car, our startup costs were less than like $20,000 all in. So it wasn't anything too crazy or dramatic. Now, again, that can expand too if we get into the vehicle, or if you get into, multiple websites where people can go in and do different things. There is a cost, obviously, associated with that. I know with our BI tool, that's something that we provide for you. But if you wanted to expand on that, to add, then there is that cost, but that can be addressed down the road.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair. I actually wanted to add one more thing. So I know we had mentioned the LASGO, the QR code. In the city of Destin, it actually was white labeled. So you're not seeing LASGO on it. It would say City of Flagler Beach on it. So a lot of transparency with that.
Yeah. Commissioner Cunningham.
Said y'all are in the city of Jacksonville?
Correct.
They still have coin meters on their streets, and
We just started.
city of Jacksonville Police Department
Yeah.
have meter maids, I don't know if you can say that anymore, but meter people that drive around and give tickets for, are y'all part of that?
No, we do the off-street and the garages.
Okay.
Yeah. Believe me, I think that coins are just a thing of the past. Who carries them anymore?
Most of my questions were what James was asking also. But I'm sure I'll probably have more.
We'll wrap around to you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Santori.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but before that, I just want to commend you on your presentation. I thought it was very well put together, and I really liked some of the information you gave, such as the 98% accuracy of the LPR. That's not data I've heard before, so that's informative. And I do like the outreach you're doing. It seems I wasn't really thinking about that much, so I'm glad you put that on our radar. So one of the questions I have is what are the typical admin fees you charge? I didn't see anything really about how much it's going to cost the city, just for some of the base things that probably don't change a lot.
Yeah, so that really depends on the plan that we collectively decide to make as a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. So you can decide, like Louis and Chris said, if you decide you want a vehicle, obviously there are software fees that go with the SureVision, right? We can't control that. There's insurance fees that go with the vehicle. We can't control that either. But really, it depends on the scope that we decide to move forward with, right? One of the things we did with Destin is we gradually grew the operation depending on the demand. But really, when you're talking about numbers, I can underwrite the deal, but it's that guy that approves it and that guy. So they can tell you really what the bare minimum is that we can start with.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's a question of the bare minimum. I think it's about open conversation and dialogue. I think as we go through this and you've got a startup program, understanding the challenges that we're all going to face going through this, because as much as we stand here and we've been through it and we've got a great plan and it's going to be very successful, we know there's going to be that curveball, that something is going to come up that's going to happen. So, to circle back to that with yours. So I think like with Destin, we just did a straight management fee for the first 2 years. That's kind of what we went through. It was an expected budget that we put together. I had agreed to at that point that it was a not to exceed budget unless it was something asked from behalf of the city to us that was outside of the scope of services. So to wrap that up in basics, it's going to be, we'll agree to staffing doing this, whether it's a vehicle, whether it's not, whether it's so on. So we're going to have that set number to you. It's going to get approved by you, and it can be a not to exceed unless it goes the other way. Now, to talk about any additional fees, I do want to be very transparent about this, because we all experience it with, if you use your credit card, there's credit card fees. If you guys have gone to other cities, you are paying, there's a transaction fee on the software that's out there. That, again, is something that you, the city, are not being bound to pay, that is passed on to the end user. That is totally negotiable, too. We have costs that go through that. We're going to be very transparent up front with you. So that would be the only fee that I could sit here today and say to you that, it's all negotiable. Let me just state that. But ultimately, I just want to be very, very transparent and clear that you've got your user fees and then our operating fees and costs that are going to be going along with it.
I noticed your company has a lot of coastal towns, and it made me think, like, what happens when there's a natural disaster? A hurricane comes through, wipes out lots of parking, and what do small communities like ours do when we struggle to pay those bills?
Right. Well, typically on that, I mean, there's going to be some relief. We're not going to come in and say, oh, you know, even though we're not collecting parking because it's flooded, we're still going to hit you an invoice. We don't do that. That's not who we are. I think it ties back to not only what Nat had described to each of you as what a culture and a company that we have been since 1981, collectively speaking. We're going to work with you. This is, to take what Nat said, I may not live in this particular city, but Florida is our home, and we value it. We want to continue to expand the relationships with the cities. As you saw, we've been partners for many, many years. So I don't know, but we can add a guarantee. I'm okay with doing things like that. We're in this together, and this is how we honestly go through and look at these things.
Okay, last question I have for now. So I noticed you had Volusia on the list, but I thought another company did Volusia, so is there, what part of Volusia?
Well, there's two different parts. So we're actually running the, oh my God, the convention center. Ocean Center, excuse me, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so associated with the convention center, the Ocean Center there is the beach parking, which another company does do. They had divided that up, I mean, you know,
Okay,
to split it.
okay.
Two different operators.
Thank you.
Yep, okay.
All right, city manager. Oh, Mr. Cunningham, do you have any more?
This is handy, the frequently asked questions, I guess. I assume that's what that is. You said you were born and raised in Florida. I don't recognize your accent. I hope that's not offensive to you. I apologize for that. Okay.
She was in Chicago for a while.
Yeah, I think it kind of rubbed off on me. 7 years in Chicago doing undergrad and graduate school kind of shaves off your accent a little bit.
Yep. That's all I got.
Mr. Sherman? All right, we are positive on time. I'll turn this back over to y'all. Anything else you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
I was just going to say, so, yes, the reason we gave out that handout was a lot of times we get questions that either were going to be contemplated or, so we try to get a little bit ahead of the curve. So if you look at it, you'll notice that, you know, when it comes to enforcement, I think our history and our background in municipalities is to not over-enforce. I think that's a big part of how you manage the enforcement. You can be standing, you know, waiting by the car, waiting for the clock to tick, but it's not about that. Really, I think one of the key factors that's happened in the city of Destin is that they're actually getting to almost 90% compliance. So that means very rarely are we writing a ticket these days. So it's incredible how much enforcement can create what we want, which is just compliance. That's really what we want to get to. So it's one of the reasons why we put all that together for you guys.
This is a good sheet. I don't know if y'all have been able to take a look at it.
First, close it out in style.
Yes. So again, thank you guys for your time. You will have additional questions. We realize that. You will come back with things. We're always here to answer, help, support anything that we can do as we go through this. It's a lot of information to digest. It's a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot of challenges. You've got a lot of things to consider with the residents. You've got the businesses as well, because we need to make sure that those parkers are going to continue to come to those businesses. So you don't want to create an adversarial parking program, although we want to do that to create a fund to pay for things or to do different projects that you guys may or may not have. I think as we go back, and to dovetail on what both Nat, Lewis, and everybody said here, is we're going to be your partners through this process. We really do value it. We appreciate it. We're going to be all in, so we thank you for your time. We hope that you consider us as your future partner, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I was impressed when I read through their stuff.
Passport.
I don't have the invitation, so that'll help.
Do you want to see that?
RJ need a copy?
He's got
Oh,
it.
you got that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Tim Davis, and Tim's not renewed. Yeah, John is actually active. Some of the conversations we've had, he's strong after. Big part. You guys are talking about all of it. Our discussion. What's that? Stormwater pond was snake bed out there. Well, he wants to put in.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
That's probably across the street. Supposed to be a stormwater pond.
You have it on your computer, I've got a thumb drive here, where we download it. Saw the thumb drive and everything, and I realized it don't plug into anything.
Good evening. How's it going? Get these slides up. Get a dinner break.
Well, we've been 5:30 to 8:30 meetings for the last week.
Yes.
Need to get like a hot dog vendor.
Shots will have.
Yeah. Is there? Yeah, we're at the home stretch. Is there a clicker?
Thank you.
We're dragging you up for public comment too.
Yeah, wonderful. RJ's already asked my question.
Oh, I heard it. I know which one was yours.
All right, we are up and running. Next up is Passport. Thanks y'all for your patience. And the format is what we're going to do is we're going to have a 30-minute time allocation for a presentation. And then after that, we're going to follow it up by having 20 minutes of Q&A. And by all means, the floor is yours. And
Thank you.
hopefully we got our presentation up and running. Yep, we got a little clicker.
We'll give it a test click. It's down forward.
Okay.
Oh, I went down and up. Oh, no. All right. Well, good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for having us today, and thanks for the thoughtful process you've run to get to this point. I'm Michael Prince with Passport. This is my colleague, Brooke Krieger. We're really glad to be here and excited about the potential opportunity to partner with Flagler Beach. I was in this very room about 16 months ago presenting to you all at the City Commission regular meeting. If you remember, it was a very packed house, a lot of great feedback. So it's awesome to see the continued effort and due diligence from the city staff to have us all here today. Quick look at where we'll spend the next 30 minutes. We'll start with a background into Passport and how we're built. Then we'll walk through our experience with cities similar to Flagler Beach. From there, we'll cover how we'll use that experience to partner with and bring a solution to the city. And we'll wrap with what an ongoing partnership looks like day to day for you, your residents, your business owners, and your visitors. For a quick background on Passport, we were founded in 2010 to build parking software for local government, and that's still our focus today. Over 800 city and agency clients partner with us, and we've processed over $3 billion in parking citation and permit payments. Procurement requirements, public records, and audit standards are the environment we were built for. Passport has unified 4 major products into one curb management ecosystem for our clients. Everything in our system was built from the ground up. Parking payments, permitting, enforcement, and reporting all speak together through one platform with one dedicated support staff behind it. So I'll walk you through what that looks like in practice. On the parking side, visitors can pay via mobile app, web through a QR code, text, or call to pay, however they're most comfortable. We also support your team during implementation with best practices around signage and communication so that from day one, visitors know exactly how to pay and where. That payment layer connects directly into permitting. For Flagler Beach, this is where your resident and long-term renter exemption lives. Digital plate-based permits mean that when a resident registers their vehicle online, their plate is recognized automatically. No hang tags, no stickers, no manual process.
The Commission defines who qualifies and the system enforces it. It's configurable to exactly the rules you set. When an enforcement officer is in the field, enforcement pulls from that same data in real time. Plate lookup, photo evidence, digital citations, appeals, and online payment are all in one workflow. If a plate is registered as exempt, they see it instantly. If a violation needs to be issued, it's documented with photo evidence on the spot. And everything that happens, every session, every permit, every citation, flows into a single portal where you'll have the data, insights, and reporting all in one place. This will give your staff real-time visibility into how the program is performing day to day. We have a very strong presence throughout the state of Florida. Most of our clients are coastal communities just like Flagler Beach. Seasonal towns with small year-round populations, with large hikes for summer tourism and a curb that has to work for both. We've stood up brand new parking programs hundreds of times across the country for municipalities of every size. From small coastal towns launching paid parking for the first time to some of the largest cities and parking agencies in North America. That range matters because everything we've built for our large, complex environments is available in the same platform. All this to say, when we work with a community like Flagler Beach, we're not figuring things out as we go. We know what a successful launch looks like, we know where friction points are, and we know how to configure a program around a community's specific needs before paid parking goes live and the first citation is ever issued. We determined 6 distinct challenges the city needs a partner to solve. Standing up a paid program from scratch, protecting residents and business owners while still enforcing paid parking, driving compliance in a mixed environment, giving the city real visibility into how the program is performing, managing revenue in a way that's fully auditable and transparent, and what's most important for the city, doing all of it without changing the character of the community. So we'll dive into how Passport plans to approach each one of these. Oops, I think, oh, I'm good. Okay, sorry. Starting with parking. The first paid parking program is the most important one a city will ever run, and we take that seriously. What we bring to Flagler Beach is not just a platform, it's experience doing this specific thing in communities like this from a blank map. Not migrating off old meters, not replacing an existing system, starting from scratch with a community that's never charged for parking before. We know what that process looks like because we've been through it hundreds of times. We sat in rooms where rates get set, where exemption policy gets debated, and where council members field questions from business owners who are not sure what this means for them. That ordinance to launch path is something we've navigated before, and we'll navigate it with Flagler Beach. The other thing we bring is knowing which decisions residents remember and which ones they never notice. A lot of what makes a first-year program successful is not just the technology, it's the rollout. How the program is communicated to the community before it launches, how signage is designed so visitors understand it immediately, and how residents feel protected by the exemptions that are in place before the first citation is ever issued. That visibility and transparency with the community is something we build into the implementation, not something we add on after the fact. Protecting business owners is a priority I see in every city. The best spaces in front of storefronts are held all day, either by employees or visitors taking advantage of the proximity. A time limit only resets when a car moves, so it doesn't actually solve the problem. Pricing changes the calculation before anyone even parks. When you price the curb correctly, short-term visitors fill the front spaces, employees and owners move to the lots, and turnover takes care of itself. That's what drives foot traffic to local businesses, not free parking. I'll work with Flagler Beach's business community to set rates and hours that reflect how long people actually need to stay and route all-day parking to the off-street lots. And for restaurants and retailers who want to go further, our platform supports merchant validation. So a business can load a balance, create a code, and their customers enter it when they pay for parking. The amount comes off the business's balance and transfers to the city automatically, so no hardware, no invoices, no staff time from the city. The business tracks redemptions in real time and can pause or adjust any code whenever they want. It's a tool that turns paid parking into something a local business can use to their advantage. For residents and long-term renters, the exemption lives on the license plate. So there's nothing to hang from a mirror, nothing to renew in person, nothing for an officer to interpret in the field. It's fully digital, and it's completely seamless for the resident. Resident fills out a short form online with proof of ownership or a lease. The city sets what qualifies, so your staff controls the eligibility rules from the start. From there, the city can either have staff review applications in the portal or set rules for automatic approval. Plates registered to the household as well. So if someone has 2 vehicles, both are covered. When an officer is in the field, the plate reads as exempt before any citation is written. There's no gray area, no judgment call, no awkward conversation at the car. The system handles it all. And the city owns the list. It is searchable, exportable, and maintained by your staff at any time. Renewals and plate changes are self-service, so if a resident moves, buys a new car, wants to add a family member's plate for the weekend, they handle it themselves in a few minutes. So no trip to City Hall, no phone call to your office. So for a community that has been protective of its residents throughout the entire conversation around parking, we think this is exactly the kind of tool that builds trust in the program from day one. We can configure really any type of parking permit needed as well. I know you guys are primarily focused on the residential permits. We can do employee parking permits, short-term guest permits, commercial permits for construction or food trucks or seasonal or special events. We'll work with the city to configure the fields and requirements for whatever you need. So I'll walk through how Passport implements enforcement and discuss how we'd approach it with the city. We're working with the city like Flagler Beach. We look at the footprint, the environment, and the volume of spaces and help the city decide what makes the most sense. For enforcement, there are generally 3 approaches we support. The first is on-foot enforcement with handheld devices. So officers patrol on foot, scan plates or look up sessions in real time, and issue digital citations directly from the handheld. Photo evidence is captured on the spot, citations are logged instantly, and everything flows directly into the back office, so no paper, no manual entry. The second is mobile LPR. This is where a vehicle-mounted camera reads license plates as an officer drives through a zone. So this works well for larger or spread out footprints where covering ground quickly matters. Third is fixed camera or photo enforcement, which works well for specific high volume locations where you want a passive continuous monitoring. For a footprint like Flagler Beach at around 400 spaces across a concentrated coastal area, our recommendation would be on-foot enforcement with handheld supported by a mobile LPR vehicle for efficiency during peak season. So that gives you thorough coverage without over-investing in infrastructure for a program that's just getting started. One of the things we hear most from cities after they launch is how much easier it is to manage everything from a single back office rather than pulling data from multiple systems. With Passport, every piece of information about your program lives here. Parking sessions, citations, permits, revenue, occupancy trends. It's all connected and it's all real time. That means when your city manager, Dale, asks about how the program performed last week, the team's spending, not spending an afternoon assembling a report. The answer's already there. From a decision-making standpoint, that data changes how a city manages its program over time. If occupancy data shows that a specific zone is consistently full by 9 a.m., you can adjust rates or hours to create more turnover. If citation volume is low in a particular area, you know where to redirect enforcement. If permit renewals are lagging, you can see it before it becomes a problem. So the back office gives your team the visibility and reporting to make those calls confidently and quickly. For the financials, collections, reconciliation, and remittance all run on the same platform as the parking itself, which is why the numbers always agree. There's no reconciling between a separate payment processor and a parking system at the end of the month. Reconciliation's automated. Settlement summaries show volume, fees, and chargebacks and refunds.
behind every net figure, and there's no spreadsheet assembly required from your staff. Monthly and annual summaries are delivered electronically in a format that can go straight into a public agenda packet. In most of our Florida cities, one staff member pulls those in a few minutes. From a compliance standpoint, the platform is PCI DSS Level 1 certified, card data is fully tokenized, and we host on AWS Cloud. Every adjustment made in the system is logged with the user who made it. So if a question ever comes up around a specific transaction, the answer is in the platform. Short version is every dollar the program generates is traceable back to the city's account, and your team has access to that at any point without having to ask us to do it. I want to spend a minute on this one because for Flagler Beach specifically, I think it's as important as anything else we've shown you today. Most of the friction in a first-year parking program does not come from the technology. It comes from people not knowing what changed, right? So, resident who did not know they needed to register, a business owner who doesn't know where their staff should park, a visitor who could not figure out how to pay. So those are not technology problems, they're these communication problems, and we treat the launch as a communication project first. Our marketing team works directly with city staff to build a public education plan before anything goes live. That means signage that tells a first-time visitor exactly what to do in one glance. A resident registration push that gets exemptions signed up before day one, not after the first complaint comes in. And business owner sessions where we walk merchants through validation codes and where their staff should park so they feel like partners in the program. We'll also create how-to content, short videos, print handouts, and web copy that the city can publish under its own name. If there are public meetings before or after launch, we'll be more than open to coming and supporting. Once the program is live, Passport handles end-user support directly through our Parker support line. Calls about how to pay or how to appeal a citation do not land at City Hall, they come to us. So we know how important it is to get this right from the start. Like I mentioned earlier, you do not get a first year twice. And we plan accordingly. So I want to walk through exactly what the city can expect from us once a partnership is in place. I think it's important to know what you're signing up for beyond the contract. First thing we do is map the environment. We scope every on-street and off-street space from North 9th to South 9th, identify where the pressure points are, how to designate zones, and where signage can and can't go. We come into this process already having done the homework on your footprint so that when we sit down with city staff, we're bringing an informed starting point rather than a blank page. From there, we put everything in writing before a single line of code gets configured. Zones, rates, hours, sessions, exemption rules, enforcement thresholds, all of it goes into a solution design document that the city reviews and approves. That document becomes the record of what was agreed so there are no surprises when the program goes live. Step 3 is we build it. Our project manager owns the schedule and runs configuration, signage, officer device setup, and hands-on training. All while the public education campaign is running in parallel. The implementation team remains with you through the first 30 to 60 days after launch before handing off to a named client success contact who knows your program front and back. The work doesn't stop at launch for us. Our job is to make sure this program is running well, not just in year one, but for the lifetime of our partnership with Flagler Beach. These are some of the faces you'd actually be working with. Brooke and I will continue to work with the city during the pre-sales process. Zach Toomey, our solutions engineer, will lead the program scope and solution design. Al Mutera will be your project manager driving implementation and program launch. And Christy Williams will provide the ongoing support as your dedicated client success manager. So to kind of wrap up, I want to leave you with 3 things tonight as you make your decision. First, Flagler Beach is not just choosing a vendor for this year. You're deciding how your curb gets managed for the next decade plus. The towns that choose Passport 10 years ago, like Cocoa Beach, St. Augustine, Treasure Island, still choosing us today. We're not here to win a contract and move on. We're here to be your technology partner from the beginning and for the future. We build our relationships that way from day one. Second, we know that a program like this has to be able to grow and change with the community. The platform is flexible by design. Rates, zones, permit categories, exemption rules, all of it's configurable without a new procurement. And our open APIs mean that whenever the city wants to connect, or whatever the city wants to connect to down the road, we can get there and support without having to wipe everything and start over. Third, at this size and in this environment, we truly believe, based on a lot of the locations we've stood up, going from free to paid parking, that an internal team can run this program successfully with one individual dedicated to enforcement. Everything else is stood up. Everyone has access to the back office to have all the data and insights. But most beach towns this size run their programs internally through Passport. If staffing for day-to-day operations is a must, Passport does partner with operators, including some of those the city chose to present tonight. So we thank you for the time tonight. Flagler Beach has waited a long time to get this right. We believe Passport is the partner that gets it right with you and keeps getting it right long after launch. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our questions session. Commissioner Santori.
Yes, first I want to thank you for your presentation and providing some stats I haven't heard before, like the 99.9% uptime. One of the questions I have is, do you know your retention rate as far as customers go?
For across all customers, across all products?
Just for paid parking.
For paid parking? I mean, that's something we can.
Yes, municipality. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, Washington State, you'll see some of their policies kind of flip-flopping a little bit, but you're not seeing that as much on the East Coast.
Okay. And one of the flyers or pages you had up there mentioned that businesses, we don't want to lose business, and speaking more about the customers, but I have spoken to quite a few restaurant owners, and one of them in particular says it's not just the customers they're worried about, it's the employees, because it's hard to find employees. So when they have to if they have to pay for parking, it becomes an issue. But I see the model's flexible enough for us to decide what we want to do about that. So and that's really all the questions I have at this time. Thanks.
Thanks. Commissioner Sherman.
When you mentioned on your operations standpoint there, could you give us a municipality that would be similar in size to us, where you've had a successful model with maybe the lack thereof, enforcement officers, roaming the streets, and what the success rate was there with enforcement?
Sure, two come to mind. Cocoa Beach, not too far from here, they utilize us for paid parking sessions and enforcement. They're currently doing their permit program in-house. So, but that system, at first they were looking to go an operator route. They thought it would just be too burdensome on staff. And then once we kind of scoped their entire environment, understood like the actual amount of like hours being allocated to enforcement wouldn't be that large of a burden for one person to do a couple routes a day, then they agreed that it'd be worth saving some cost. So they stood it up with our paid parking is mostly beach ends and lots. Pretty similar kind of environment where people were parking all day, going to the beach, parking in front of businesses. But that's been really, really successful for them. I think they staff 2 people that are with the police department there. So parking enforcement officers are their role.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Cunningham.
Well, James took part of my question. what other beach town would be similar to this one? I guess 'cause I'm kind of a visual person and I like pictures. To see what an example of what other beach towns similar to this size, what they did that solved their, I mean, first time. I mean, I don't know if some of them were already had it and rebid it or started from scratch, kind of like what we're doing.
I could rally off a bunch of clients that are, you know, maybe give or take a couple thousand residents, but similar kind of, you know, tourism trends. A lot are on the Gulf side, so like Holmes Beach, Anna Maria, Treasure Island, but out here, Cocoa Beach, you know, St. Augustine's a bit larger. India Atlantic uses us for paid parking and enforcement. It's a bit smaller, but I'd be happy to provide. And you have experience, you know, setting up programs from scratch as well.
Yeah, it's been kind of trending on a bigger scale, mostly post-pandemic because of the way local revenue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people can hear it.
Yeah, so with the changes since the pandemic, there was a lot of local revenue that kind of depleted, and so paid parking is kind of an easy lever for a lot of cities to pull in order to recoup revenue. So you're seeing that trend a lot more in the last 5-6 years than you have in the last decade for sure. And a lot of them are high tourism areas. The reason for that is it's much easier to tax visitors than it is your residents, right? So an easy way to gain more money as a city is a form of a tax, right? That's kind of the only way to raise money around here. And nobody wants to do that because when you hear, let's raise taxes, nobody is usually a fan of that. Or maybe, I don't know, we don't have to get into that. But parking is an easy way to generate revenue. And if you're in a touristy area, and that's usually beach towns, especially in Florida, charge the visitors. That's recouping that revenue that you're losing during all of these other events that are happening across the entire economy, and then your residents are still protected. So residents don't get impacted. Business owners can still have permits for their employees, and all of those things kind of stay the same. And then you're generating revenue from everyone who's coming in. So that's kind of a trend, I guess you could say, on a bigger scale.
What about signs with the other towns? Are there signs directing and with a QR code or however they're going to pay?
Yeah, most you'll see a lot of backlash on QR codes these days. Some cities still prefer them. It's an easy way to do it, but there were a lot of trends, especially during COVID, as QR codes kind of picked up, and you've probably seen that in the news, where QR codes, people can easily put a sticker on it, so there's some fraud use there. So sometimes it's easier to kind of omit the QR code. We do it either way, because sometimes a city likes that ease, and they, you know, if there's only 10 signs on street in your area, then that's easy for your team to kind of prevent any of that sort of thing to happen. Larger cities are usually the ones that are seeing those sort of trends. But the signs are completely customizable. We have our own programming that we've done research on as far as like ADA compliance. So we're looking at colors, we're looking at height, we're looking at size, we're looking at the size of the font and the contrast of the font with the background and all of these things. So we've done the research on that to make sure they're extremely visible and accessible and all of those good things. But ultimately, we want that branding to fit the look and feel of the city. So more historic towns will want the look and feel of their signs to kind of fit that branding of the city. Beach towns will sometimes want their signs to kind of fit the look and feel of the beach. Others don't really care and will just kind of have a standard parking sign.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all we got.
City manager.
Nothing, thank you.
Question I got is, if I'm understanding this right, and correct me if I'm wrong, so y'all build the platform that this operates on and all the software that runs it, but then you also do operations as well?
No, so our platform is a complete software-based platform. So we do not provide any additional human capital with our solution. We work with a lot of operators that provide that human capital. So I think Glaz was just here. We work with them quite a bit, and we were in their bid as well. So we can work with those with human capital, but with an operation of your size, the reason we bid for this, knowing we weren't offering that solution, is because we believe with this size, you can still get the job done with just the software. And a lot of cities that operate this sort of size and scope can do it. So it's really up to you on whether you need that additional support or whether you want to complete it in-house, which is entirely possible.
And then you have a lot of operators that use your platform. You just mentioned Laz.
Yep.
I'm sure potentially that P3 company uses your platform maybe.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we can work with any operator. It's kind of a plug and chug situation.
Got it. So that's good information. I wasn't sure if you guys did the operations side or just software.
Yep, just the technology, and we work with, hundreds of operators across the country. They're all mostly regional based, some are nationally based, but a lot use our technology.
All right. Commissioner Santori? You good?
No, that was very informative. So you're saying that other vendors, do they solely use your platform, or is it just one of the options you're using?
On their side or on our side?
Their side, so to say, like Laz brought up.
Yeah, on any side, there's no exclusivity. So a lot of times operators will kind of pick and choose their technology based on the region and where they have kind of a market presence. We have a pretty good market presence here, so you'll see operators that would want to use our technology here, but that could change elsewhere.
And since you don't do the operation side, do you do training for a city like ours to help our operators?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So we have, like Michael mentioned, a full implementation plan that includes training of all of the back end, the enforcement pieces, the reporting pieces, financials, everything. So you'll fully get up and running with our team throughout the process and then ongoing support through our process. So you can kind of consider your client success representative, Christy, who we mentioned. She'll be kind of that person that's holding your program together.
And our contact, Christy, is she local or is she only virtual?
Charlotte-based, but can travel.
Okay. And fee-wise, I guess we can email and start getting that information. Just curious on, what the fees are for parking and if there's any additional admin fees, things like that, management fees.
Yeah, I guess we could get through that an email.
All right. Other questions? No? Everybody's caught up on their questions. You're good, City Manager? We have a little bit of time left. Is there anything else that y'all want to share with us before we wrap up? Are we good?
No, great questions. We're happy to be here, happy to be a part of this process. Like Michael said, over a year now. Myself, I've stood up a number of paid parking programs. It's always cool to get to this part where it's about to happen, and managing that communication piece, that's the most important part. Once you can get that right, and all of the PR that comes with it, you'll be off to the races. So this is the exciting part. So thank you so much for everything.
All right. Thank you for your time and all the information. Appreciate it. All right, that wraps that up. And what I would like to do is, in the spirit of talking with our public, I'd like to open this up, public comment. Oh, come on. All right. Well, that's all our presentations. Do we have any other business y'all want to cover or anything we need to discuss? City Manager, you good? Everybody's good? I'll look for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.
People have free parking.